not promote or promotion any illegal activities. All content provided by this channel is meant only for educational purpose only.
I love what Mikey does. Sometimes I'm like, yo, you over the edge, TMZ with it. But
the boy gonna do you something nasty.
I hate to say it, more times than not, he get the results he wants.
Right, and to be honest with you, I honestly don't think it's over. Honestly, I think exactly what this state needs. We've always needed a platform where we can call out the nonsense,
the repercussions,
and give people the props that they deserve, and call out the people who are full of it. And honestly, I think that more and more people are starting to utilize Mike's platform for that. And honestly, I know a lot of folks. A lot of people talk to me, "Oh, Emerson, like you're on there and you talk this and you talk that," and I'm like, "Listen," I said, name one thing that he's been wrong about. And then there's silence.
But boy.
Right.
Because they know. Because honestly, like that stuff that's being exposed, they're like, "Oh, damn, how did he find out about it?" And again, Mike has his sources, and I never get into that. But at the end of the day, what he exposes is the truth. And people don't want to hear that. They want to hear the watered down version. They want to hear, "Oh, well, I don't know how he found that out, blah, blah, blah." But, they want to duck and dodge and this and that. And, there's no need for that. It's like, okay, we need to bring a level of respect back to, coaching and administration and stuff like that. And honestly, when people get called out like that, they call out the nonsense. And that's exactly what we need.
Y'all better stop playing with that boy.
Oh, the alignment's good for football on second thought. Dude, you crapped on it this whole video, man.
Sitting there like, I have no clue what I'm doing. Like, I was just keeping my hands out of it, and people were just taking shots at it left and right, and it was, for me, it was...
Dude, he said, "I have no idea what I'm doing." We know that, but what you meant to say was like, I had nothing to do with this. No, you called out...
What's up, everybody, man? Welcome to another Chemistry Real podcast. What's going on? You drown in your lies, only you to blame. It's reflected in your cry. Turtle boy, we see through the mask. You wear truth cutting deep like a knife, it ain't fair. You made this mess, you drown in your lies, only you to blame. It's reflected in your cry. The baker broken, he stands tall. Ain't that the truth? Locked in the battle with the heart of gold. Got proof down syndrome. Never a reason to attack. You act like a coward hiding in your own whack. You call it journalism, but I see through your game. Pathetic little loser, you should be ashamed. Turn the mirror, see the monster that you grown. Can't wash the dirt, it's forever on your throne. Turtle boy, we see through the mask. You wear truth cutting deep like a knife, it ain't fair. You made this mess, you drown in your lies, only you to blame. It's reflected in your cry. Turtle boy, we see through the mask. You wear truth cutting deep like a knife, it ain't fair. You made this mess, you drown in your lies, only you to blame. It's reflected in your cry. Standing with Aiden, Kate the will, no thanks. You're marching down a path where nobody gives thanks. Ray from Dallas and the McHale recruit too. Associate to mess with nothing good to pursue. Shirley Max, we heard the toughest cries, mama's pain, but you drowned them all out, left them lost in the rain. You created the shit you're sitting in now. The world ain't your playground, so take a bow. Can we keep it real? Let's break it down clear. You're not even close to the truth, you just disappear. So hold your breath, think about what you've done. Living in your fantasy, but you're weighing the ton. No applause for the fraud, no crown for the fool. This is from your boy, let the truth be the tool. We can't take much more, and neither should you. Time to face the truth, it's the least you can do. Shut it down, turtle boy, let the real ones rise. This the gritty anthem, no more disguise. Turtle boy,
Yo, bitch boy, listen up, gotta talk to you now. The game's up, we ain't buying what you're selling somehow. Yeah, we can't take much more of this bullshit, man. You parade around town like some kind of fan. Award-winning journalist, nah, just a fraud with valid stuff. Is that the game that you applauded? You ask your chat, what's the hot news today? When it's you in the mirror, the one that led you astray. Bitch, boy, no glory. Your stories in the trash. Pathetic, deceptive, turn your dreams to ash. You painted your own mess now, drown in the doubt. Fake news king, this is what it's all about. You became the cringe, the laughing stock of it all. Claiming awards, but it's just a paper wall. Blogging ain't journalism, see that's a crime. Real talk, you spitting slime, wasting all of our time. Shout out to Ad Baker Broken, he's down with the cause. Don't you dare attack, that ain't no applause. Stand with the real, never with the fakes. Cause we don't fuck with clowns and all the moves they make. Bitch, boy, no glory. Your stories in the trash. Pathetic, deceptive. Turn your dreams to ash. You painted your own mess now. Drown in the doubt. Fake news king. This is what it's all about. Fake news king. This is what it's all about. It's all about. Fake news king. This is what it's all about. Sick of your lies, tired of your deceit. Shirley Max, man, heard your mama's toughest cries on repeat. This ain't a game, you made your bed, now sleep in the mess. The world ain't your playground, it's time to confess. You thought you were tough, thought we were blind, but now we see the truth and it's making us refine. Aiden, Kearney, Kate, Peter, all the ones you side with. Your crew's full of losers, that's easy to find it. So back up, take a step, recognize your fate. No sympathy for snakes, yeah, your time's running late. Yeah, bitch, boy, we gon' rise above your lies. This rebel anthem here, the truth that never dies. In the struggle together, no more choking on your spin. We break the bonds you made, it's time to begin. Fake news king, this is what it's all about. Fake news king, this is what it's all about. Fake news king, this is what it's all about. This is all about. Fake news king, this is what it's all about. Yo, bitch boy, listen up, gotta talk to you now. The game.
Oh snap, that was muted. You come on in, wipe your feet before we get into anything. Do me a solid, man. Smash that like button. You know, that's how this presentation gets shared. You know, you have to, hit the like button, subscribe, so you don't miss a breakdown, timeline, or the truth, as we always keep it real, because, nothing to hide, right? Tell it like it is. We're about to drag into the light. Listen, if you really rock with us, right? If you want to see us grow, you want to see us expand, grab a membership. Really appreciate that. We'll start doing some deep dives. That's how we keep the platform growing, staying independent, unbothered. But what's going on, everybody, today? There's a poll that I had up there somewhere. I'll get it back up there. But the question was, do you support Eddie O'Brien getting a new trial or even time served? But always justice for Jigga. Shout out for Jigga, justice for Jigga. Always gotta say that. Happy Monday, happy Monday. Ooh, the turd warning, that's nasty. Yeah, what's going on? Interesting JFK show last night. Adi Ortiz in the chat, man. What's up, Adi? Interesting show last night, though. I mean, I've been just going by the truth about Eddie O'Brien, and I think, I think the fact that, see a poll, Adi. I'm surprised you didn't take advantage of that free $2,000, Adi, over on the JFK show. I would have took that. That's free money. I said, Adi's going to take that money and tell him the same thing that he's been telling him. But Adi, man, what is up with last night? They said on the JFK show that you was in the house, that you was the guy in the house. That was said last night on the JFK show. Jay Brill said that Eddie O'Brien Jr. told him that you was the guy in the house. That was crazy. I mean, JFK seems to be taking a different position. I mean, Adi is not caught up. JFK seems to be, JFK was riding for you, Adi, last night a lot, but of course, because, he wants to get the other side, but, I mean, JFK pricing it right out the park. They had $2,000 for you, Adi. I think the problem, Adi, is a lot of things you said, you haven't really been honest. You haven't been honest about this whole thing, this whole situation. And the fact that they never tested any of the blood. They didn't test your blood, Adi. They didn't test anyone's blood in the house. They didn't test Paul Sr.'s blood, Paul Jr.'s blood. I'm only reading from the official paperwork. We seen video last night. I was in the chat. Where do you go? There's the poll right there. And how it works is you put a number 1 in the chat for yes, and you put a 2 for no. And the app will actually count your votes. Do you support Eddie O'Brien getting a new trial or time served? Because the Rule 30 motion, look, that thing might be more believable than, I mean, he might have a chance to at least get a Rule 30 hearing. A lot of things are kind of popping up. But you already know, Adi, if you want to, I already told you, if you want to talk, it don't even have to be live. We can do behind. Yes, but they never sent the blood. The blood was never tested. They took your blood, right? They took your blood. It's in the official paperwork. It's in the transcripts. I could show you right now, Adi. I could pull up the paperwork right now and show you. Yes, they took your blood, but Tom Riley made sure it never made it to Selmark. Once they told him that Eddie's blood was inconclusive, he stopped right there. He didn't want to test he didn't test your blood because if he would have tested, I'm not saying you, but if he would have tested at that point anyone's blood, it would have showed that he might have been in too much of a hurry to make a decision. They took your blood. Yes, it says that. I went over that. You're not caught up. I showed that yesterday. Yes, they took your blood, but the blood was never tested, Adi. That's what I'm saying. When in the notes, Tom Riley's notes, and we'll get to the notes. They're a little messed up, but we got to transcribe them. But the notes said that the blood was taken, but they never tested it. After Eddie's came up, after they couldn't test Eddie's blood, came up that inconclusive, and he was like, oh snap, damn, that's not good. You know what I mean? Stop testing right now. So they didn't test anybody's blood in the building. Tom Riley was able to get over on it. I mean, there's paperwork that shows that. You know, just a lot of things. You know, you talked about the cats, the dogs, you know, and your timeline just don't match some of the logs, the neighbor sightings on your earlier statements. You know, I wish you could just, if your story would not keep changing, it would be a little easier to believe you. But for some reason, Riley, like, I don't know, he never looked at you, and there was a lot of reasons that you could have looked at a lot of people. You know, I think if you didn't lie so much, Adi, if you didn't get caught lying about so many things, I think maybe we could have explained it a little better, you know. But you said you called the dispatcher before entering the house, right? Originally, you said you never went in the house, but later admit that you did go in the house. What about the refrigerator downstairs that, you know, Gina said that, you know, you would keep your goods in it. The animals appear, they disappear. You said there was a cat, then you said there wasn't a cat. Then you said there was a dog. Then there's a litter box. I mean, why do your description of animals in the house keep changing, Adi? How do you explain remembering animals and other witnesses say that they weren't there? Oh, and the blood behind your cab, Adi. I mean, that part, you can't explain it, because if the blood was there, you would have ran it over. How did the blood get there? Why did you initially deny even seeing any blood? Why didn't you tell the police? Did you ever ask the investigators why the blood was even near your cab? I mean, why didn't you mention these details in your first statements or even your first interviews? The key. Am I going too fast, Adi? Are these too many questions? You know? Shout out to Adi, though, but I would have snatched that $2,000, man. But honestly, I think JFK is pricing you out the park. You know what I mean? Then it's going to make hard for other people. They're going to want to get paid all this crazy, crazy money.
Yeah. Listen up. It's real out here. The ones you trust can make you or break you. You dig? You dig? Yeah.
Some will stretch you, twist you, pull you apart. Got a smile on their face, but they target your heart. Rip your face up with words, cut deep, no scars. You think you know loyalty till they expose who they are. They'll co-sign your dreams and throw you to the wolves. I seen them drag you down, little lies turn to drools. Test your mental, burn you out, that's the game they play. Life is too precious to waste on fakes every day.
Choose your circle wisely, keep it tight, don't let them in.
Oh, we got a special request. Let's go.
I'm the storm, I'm the storm they tried to bottle. The truth they tried to drown. 15 years old, they threw a king's weight on a child's crown. But I rise like a riot, like a siren in the night. And I'm calling out the dude who's been ducking the light. Name's Art Ortiz, yeah, that fraud. Moving like a shadow puppet pulled by a coward god. Every time the block shake, he the first one to vanish. Moving like guilt, wearing sneakers, sprinting off in the panic. I'm like, why you always running when the truth get loud? Why your footsteps echo different from the rest of the crowd? You slid through the alleys like a rumor with legs. But when the questions start flying, you crack like eggs. I was sitting on the porch, whole hood saw me chilling. You was creeping through the dark like a plot you was feeling. You a ghost with a heartbeat, a whisper with shoes, a silhouette sprinting off, dropping half-baked clues. I spit metaphors heavy, you the fence jumper phantom, the backyard bandit, the night shift random. You the type to leave footprints, but swear you ain't walk. The type to hear your name whispered and pretend you ain't talk. I'm the kid they tried to bury, but I grew like a vine. Truth climbing every wall, exposing every design. You the dude in the shadows, ducking every spotlight beam, moving like a glitch in the neighborhood dream. This ain't an accusation, this a lyrical rig, a metaphor for every grown man who let a child bleed, for every dude who stayed silent while a kid took the fall, for every shadow in the night who ain't stand up at all. So fictional art, so listen, I'm the storm you can't dodge. I'm the truth in the alley, I'm the ghost in the lodge. I'm the voice of the timeline, the pulse of the street, and every lie you ever told get exposed to the beat. So keep running and hiding, but you can't escape. Truth so relentless, tide your facade's gonna break. I'm the storm, I'm the light, I'm the echo, the fight. And when the beat drops down, you're gonna feel me tonight. Yeah. Them the tree they tried to bury. Yeah. I'm the storm, I'm the storm they tried to bottle. The truth they tried to drown. 15 years old, they threw a king's weight on a child's crown. But I rise like a riot, like a siren in the night. And I'm calling out the dude who's been ducking the light. Name's Art Ortiz.
There we go. I was wondering why it was playing double. Let's check it out now. know what you like. You like.
Let my house feeling good, sun shining bright. So Tony G on the porch, just a casual sight. But then I glanced at down his door, wide ajar. I had to check it out, my heart racing like a car. I stepped into the entrance, felt the chill of the night. Heard some noise from within, never thought it felt so right. With the creak of the door, darkness feel like a wave. What I saw left me frozen, man, I couldn't be brave. You can charge me, but I'm not guilty. Caught in the moment, life's a little filthy. Wasn't ready for the shadows lurking near, but I hold my ground, got nothing to fear. I called out to Janet, but silence gripped my throat. My instincts kicked in hard like I'm on a tightrope. Bend down to shake a heart pounding like a drum. But what I saw next made me feel so numb. Blood on the floor like a canvas dread. Thoughts racing through my mind, what happened? Where's she dead? Caught in the scene like an actor in a play. Hoping that somehow I could just walk away. You can charge me, but I'm not guilty. Life's a battlefield, got my eyes wide, feel free.
Really appreciate his style, got nothing to hide, stepping into this light.
In the neighborhood, where shadows cast long. Every step I take feels like I'm doing something wrong. But I'm just a witness caught in a strange view. Justice on the line, but what's a man to do? Finger pointed at me, but I can't take the blame.
So last night, I don't know if y'all heard, I don't know if y'all are caught up. Last night, Jay Brill says, which I was like, yo. I was like, "Are you sure that you wanna keep going with that, bro? Are you Jay, bro? Are you sure you don't want to see if they want to delete that?" But he was like, "Nah, I'm gonna stand on that." Um, but last night, Jay Bro says that Eddie confirmed that Adi was in the house. I was like, "Yo." That's what he said. Now these are all allegations, y'all know. I mean, don't sue. These are all allegations. But Adi was in the chat earlier, and you already know if it's Eddie O'Brien related, Adi just finds a way to be in the chat. Their phone work is overrated. I was thinking about things that were overrated, and someone once told me, actually, a teacher told me a long time ago that sorry is the biggest lie you'll ever be told. And I was like, is sorry overrated? Because everybody's sorry. You walk by somebody in the store, you open the door before someone else, you're sorry. You don't even have a reason to be sorry, and we're sorry. Is sorry overrated? And do we say sorry? Do we lie a lot of times when we say sorry? Just wondering. So Adi, yeah, why were you searching for the keys? You don't really know where you lost them, but there's a lot of questions, that I would want to ask Adi, and I can't believe he ain't taking advantage of that 2K. I was like, yo, that was like offering 2K. I said, Adi's going to take that 2K just to take it, and he's going to tell them the same old thing. But I think giving him 2K is a bad move because you're pricing it out of the park. Then other people are going to think that they could get 2K. And it's like, it's like Ari Spears. Ari Spears and DJ Vlad. He thinks he's worth 5 figures, DJ Vlad's like, no, you're not worth that. You got to bring him back down to earth. And then other people are going to think that they could get paid for coming out with the truth and get paid that type of money. But yeah, JFK, he actually even posted last night, Adi not guilty, but they were some of his subscribers was on him pretty tough. But Jay Brill said last night, and I was pretty surprised. It looks like he got a little pressure. He got under the gun, and Jay Brill came out and said, "You know what?" He said, "Screw it." He took a deep breath. He said, Eddie told me Adi was in the house. I was like, oh, whoa. Even though a lot of us kind of was assuming that. And then the whole question of premeditated comes up because Eddie got charged with premeditated, but what could have happened in that house? I don't think Eddie, you know what? I don't think Eddie could have done it at all. Eddie's not going to be able to do all that in the timeline that he's had. How do you explain him beating the lie detector test? Is he that calm? How do you explain him beating the drug test? When they put him under. How come after Riley finds out that Eddie's blood couldn't be excluded? How come after he found that out, he didn't test anyone's blood? You know, how does a jury convict somebody on the amount of evidence that they had? I mean, Adi, I got so many questions. Why have your statements changed so many times over the last 30 years? Why should anyone trust this version over the ones you were saying earlier? I mean, Adi, you got to admit, right, that your inconsistencies kind of raise questions about kind of your reliability. I mean, this is why a lot of your statements contradict each other and the physical evidence, bro. I mean, do you understand how you lying contributed? I mean, to the conviction that's now being challenged under Rule 30? The amount of times you lied, that is one of the reasons that this Rule 30 is being considered. Do you understand that, I mean, you better get in front of this fast. I mean, is there anything you want to clarify? I mean, Adi was in the chat earlier. You know, and I didn't even really come here to talk about Adi Ortiz. You know, I came to talk about other things that are going on inside the truth about Eddie O'Brien. And Adi jumped in the chat, so we buckled up, you know, and I said, let's see if we can catch up to Adi and take a ride through the land of contradictions. You know, population Adi Ortiz. I mean, I ain't here to accuse anybody of anything. I'm just saying, there's a lot of contradictions. I'm just here to hold up the receipts. We can go back and listen to the interviews from JFK show off. Go listen to them yourself. The statements, the timelines. The wait, didn't you say something different last time? Moments. We have a lot of them Adi Ortiz moments. Do we not? Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Lala. You know, I jumped in on her lie. She read me and my wife's cards today, which was, you know, shout out to her. I actually recorded it, so, you know, I'll get to play that. Jury didn't hear all the evidence. This is Eddie's aunt, I believe. No, the jury did not hear all the evidence. A lot of things was kept from the jury. The other day I broke down the if you didn't have a chance to listen to it, I should isolate just that part. I actually broke down the Super Predator. You know, how when they started the Super Predator, it just didn't work. It was a failure, but they kept the laws in place, and Eddie was one of the victims. Oh, Patricia, another blessing. I have 7 grandkids, my blessing. If you are a member, I told the members the other day that I just had my 8th grandbaby. Number 8 since COVID now. My daughter has 4. My son Xavier has 3. And my son Chico has 1. So I have 8 grandbabies. Adi actually does love the attention, but is this the kind of attention you want? I mean, if it is, I don't, who wants this type of attention? I mean, we ain't here to accuse Adi of anything. But, Jay Brill has been visiting Eddie, and Jay Brill, in the heat of the moment last night, he took that deep breath and he said, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to say it. Eddie said Adi was in the house. I was like, yo, he said it. I can't believe. Thank you. Thank you. Number 8. You know what I think of? Because, everything's so tough now, struggling, getting by week to week, Christmas is 8 grandkids, man. I was like, wow, just one gift a piece, that's $80. And my wife's the type, no, we gotta get them like 13 gifts each. This one needs 13. We need 13 for that one. I was like, well, why? We need 13 each for every grandkid? Well, we can't let one grandkid think the other grandkid is better than that grandkid. So you're saying if we buy a Power Wheels for one, we gotta buy a Power Wheels for all of them? And Papa, me, I go by Papa. My wife goes by Gigi. Papa says, I'll tell you kids what, we're going to get you one Power Wheel. It's going to stay at Papa's house and you're going to ride it. I ain't buying 8 Power Wheels. No. But I lose the argument, so I just give up the money, right? I pay, which I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I think it is a man's job to take care of his family, so I have no problem doing that. I think I couldn't even do the job that my wife does. So shout out to all the ladies out there. Shout out to the single mothers out there, to the single fathers out there, to the single parents out there. Shout out to the mothers out there that even have the fathers in their home, but daddy's always working and mama's handling everything. Shout out to all you ladies, because you know what? Us men would be in trouble if we had to do it. That's all I'm saying. But if we're going to talk about the Eddie O'Brien case, we got to talk about the witnesses whose story changes more than the New England weather. And I really didn't even want to talk Adi Ortiz. What's up, Jay Brill? Adi was in the chat like right away. And I was saying, I don't even want to talk about Adi. I really haven't even been trying to talk about Adi, but right away he jumps in the chat. So I just fired off a bunch of questions. And I don't know. He hasn't been around. He hasn't been around. But listen, people, there's a great website, right? The Truth About Eddie O'Brien. There's a lot of good facts on there that talk about, how he's preparing. No, he didn't answer none of them. He just said, we are so wrong. And I was like, listen, Adi, I'm just going by what I'm reading on actual paperwork. Answer some of these questions. Answer about the blood on the sidewalk. Can you answer that? Why'd you give multiple different times for when you arrived on Boston Street? The truth should always be the truth. Shout out to Miss Geraldine. There it is. The Truth About Eddie O'Brien. And I'm going to bring that up right now. I have the link down below. Now, in all fairness, I don't even know the O'Briens, so I'm doing this out of just my love and admiration, and I really believe I really, really believe that this man is innocent. You know what I mean? And if he's not, then I don't know. Then I got played, because you know what? Like lie detector test, drug test, all the documents in this website, so many things, the blood testing, the DNA, You know, find the dirt and blow it out of proportion. I have some of his notes transcribed. Yes, some of his scribbly notes. I've been in the process of transcribing them. I mean, so you go to his website. Let me get this young face out of here. I was with my son Xavier today, and he reminds me of Eddie O'Brien. Like, same type of build, same type of kid. And I told him that, I told him about Eddie. I said, Eddie reminds me a lot of you. Even though Eddie's like almost 50 now, and you're 24. I was like, but this poor kid, I can only imagine him entering prison, at the age of 15, how frightening it was and how dark and lonely it was that first night, more than that first night, but then first couple of nights. I know as an adult how it was, thinking in my mind, and you still gotta stand tall. You still gotta stand on all 10, because now you're in a man's world. Now you're in gladiator school. You know what I mean? Where the only thing they respect in that world is the violence. So you gotta stand on all 10. So I can only imagine what Eddie was going through. Yeah, Jay Brill went into the house. There's some great video over on JFK Show Off stream, the stream that they did last night with JFK, where Jay Brill just dropped a bombshell on everybody. I was like, whoa, you want to dial that back? It was just one of them moments that kind of make you go, whoa. So I asked him, just some calls, if you went inside the Downing house that night, why did you originally say you never went in, but later admit you did? Yeah, no, I hear you, I hear you, I mean, under the gun, feeling pressured, another thing I asked Adi, you said there was a cat, then you said there wasn't, then you said there was a dog. Wait, which is it? Is it a rat? Is it a cat? Is it a dog? Why do your descriptions of the animals in the house keep changing? I was waiting for him to say it was a monkey, there was a cow. Hey, here it is. Lala, I jumped over on Lala's live stream today. She read cards for me and the missus, shout out to her. I seen her other show. She was actually reading Margot's book, Politics and Schmurder. I advise everybody to go pick that up. You can actually also get an audio copy. But I wanted to get into, let me see. There we go. Hang on. I want to get into this. Where is it? Let's see. Okay, I know what I got to do. But while I get this all set up, the new song "Storm Unleashed."
Yeah. Them the clique they tried to bury. Yeah. I'm the storm. Yeah. I'm the storm they tried to bottle. The truth they tried to drown. 15 years old, they threw a king's weight on a child's crown. But I rise like a riot, like a siren in the night. And I'm calling out the dude who's been ducking the light. Name's Art Ortiz. Yeah, that fraud. Moving like a shadow puppet pulled by a coward god. Every time the block shake, he the first one to vanish. Moving like guilt, wearing sneakers, sprinting off in the panic. I'm like, why you always running when the truth get loud. While your footsteps echo different from the rest of the crowd. You slither through the alleys like a rumor with legs. But when the questions start flying, you crack like eggs. I was sitting on the porch, whole hood saw me chilling. You was creeping through the dark like a plot you was feeling. You a ghost with a heartbeat, a whisper with shoes, a silhouette sprinting off, dropping half-baked clues. I spit metaphors heavy, you the fence jumper phantom, the backyard bandit, the night shift random. You the type to leave footprints, but swear you ain't walk. The type to hear your name whispered and pretend you ain't talk. I'm the kid they tried to bury, but I grew like a vine. Truth climbing every wall, exposing every design. You the dude in the shadows, ducking every spotlight beam, moving like a glitch in the neighborhood dream. This ain't an accusation, this a lyrical read, a metaphor for every grown man who let a child bleed, for every dude who stayed silent while a kid took the fall, for every shadow in the night who ain't stand up at all. So fictional art, so listen, I'm the storm you can't dodge. I'm the truth in the alley, I'm the ghost in the lodge. I'm the voice of the timeline, the pulse of the street, and every lie you ever told get exposed to the beat. So keep running and hiding, but you can't escape. Truth so relentless, tide your facade's gonna break. I'm the storm, I'm the light, I'm the echo, the fight. And when the beat drops down, you're gonna feel me tonight. Yeah. Yeah. Them the clique they tried to bury. Yeah.
But I noticed that this time. This is the Audio T's testimony. You know, multiple witnesses in this testimony said Janet was terrified of Audio T's. Right? She believed he was entering her home when she wasn't there. She believed he had a second set of keys. Right? She believed that he was stalking her. She believed he was sabotaging her car, her belongings, and her home. And I believe these were all statements that were made, whether they made it into the trial or not. She believed he was behind just some weird incidents, you know, from Regina Mahoney, you know, Mary Rivera, if I'm saying it right, Virginia Reckley. I mean, all three of them, right? Regina, Mary, Virginia, they all describe what? They all describe strange incidents, right? Fear. Right? Things kept coming up missing. Items were being moved. You know, things are being vandalized. And don't forget, no matter if you're in different area codes, you can hit them goals. Really appreciate it. Hit the like, hit the sub button. If anything, hit the like and sub button. The washer fluid that was dumped inside her locked car. Some of her clothing, the cellar door being found open. I remember some of them houses, inside some of them row houses, where a lot of the mills are. A lot of them cellars are adjoining cellars. A lot of them were cold cellars back in the day. It was like a big open cellar. I mean, this is another pattern that the jury never heard. The jury never heard any of this. It's iced coffee o'clock. There you go. Have one for me too. You know, how about Audie's presence at the scene? That's suspicious. So I mean, there's plenty of things. There's plenty of things to tell us, why we're suspicious of Adi. So please, Adi, don't come off and with your righteous ass and tell her that, oh, everyone's picking on me and everybody's lying and there's no reason why y'all should think it was me. Yes, so you lied every chance you get, and the truth don't need to be protected, man. Like, oh, I forget. You don't forget. What did I remember 30 years ago? I'll tell you what. When my boy Jai, he was a Providence police officer, was killed by another Providence police officer, was killed 20 something, 30. I remember everything of that night. When 9/11 happened, I remember everything where I was when O.J. Simpson was found innocent. I remember everything because they were special life altering moments. You don't forget that shit. Every goddamn time I was arrested, put in the back of a damn police car, I tell you what, I remember every moment of that time. Every time I was sentenced in front of a judge, I remember every moment. Yes, I do. So don't tell me, do you remember everything from 30 years ago? Yes, I do. You lose your key. Did you really? I mean, there's a lot of things we go into say about the key. Maybe you did lose the key. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you just wanted to get the car towed out of there. That is a possibility, right? We're talking about reasonable doubt here. Regina says there was no tape up yet. You say, I know what yellow tape means. You told people she didn't make it before anyone even knew she was going. I mean, 1996 wasn't 1972. Like, we got to stop talking about 1996 like it was the damn Stone Age. Shit was popping in 1996, man. Biggie Smalls. You know what I mean? Nostradamus, Nas. I mean, it wasn't the Stone Ages, people. There was cell phones. Your boy made multiple calls from a neighbor's house. Like, you're really, really concerned. I said Higgins went to the police station because he wanted to hang around and see what was going on. It's kind of like some of them criminals, right, that hang around the crime scene and they want to watch and lay low. I mean, you could have been keeping a peek and saying, yo, getting a jump on, yo, we got evidence, yo, this or that. Get the jump on it. Very, very smart to hang around the crime scene. Very, very smart. Oh, big shout out, big shout out. Thank you very much. Thank you for going over this. We need to build your followers. The more putting Eddie's case out, the better. Yes, we do. And also go over Jay Brill. He has a YouTube page. I still have to go do it, but we're all gonna go over there and support him as well. So shout out to Jay Brill. The work Jay Brill is doing, man. Yo, I always salute him. I got so much respect for what Jay Brill is doing, for the work he's putting in. Jay Brill went to Boston Street Sunday, I believe. He went to Boston Street. He went inside the house. At first, I'm sure the lady was a little nervous. She was probably a little hesitant, because I would too. You're saying like, yo, somebody was, 187 in your house. It kind of makes you feel a little like, ooh, a little creeped out. I lived in a house where, you know, somebody lost their life in it, and you could, once you know that, you kind of feel that. You feel a little, you know, the coldness. You know, did he follow witnesses around town after this situation? You know, so there's just a lot of things about Adi's story just that changed dramatically over time. His 95 statements, right? His 99 statements, right? His 2007 phone calls, you know, he changes a lot. He learned a lot about the case, whether he went inside, whether he saw blood, whether he was kicked out of Janet's house. His relationship with Janet should have been questioned. He was a brother in law. Regina's statement, that was relevant. How was that not relevant? Like, Mr. George, how could you not get these things in? Like, he had a conversation. She was with the victim the last 10 hours of her life. The way he was acting at the scene, you know, what kind of police are in Boston, too? Like, yeah, I lost my key in a murder scene. The cop don't want to say, well, just curious. Maybe you might want to know why this man lost his key in a murder scene. Instead of saying, oh, if we find your key, buddy, we'll get it back to you. How about, what the fuck is your key doing over here? You know, when the hell did you lose your key? You know, witnesses are contradicting the prosecution's blood narrative. Virginia Reckley says there was no blood in the room, except a little bit around Janet's head. Well, the pictures show another thing, and the blood splatter after the EMT performed the CPR. Is that where all the blood came? Because the blood must have been pumping out. I mean, these are valves that we have, you know, that just pump. There's so much pressure. You watch Dexter. That's what I'm saying. Eddie O'Brien would have had to be covered in head to toe. And there's no testimony that he washed up with a hose. And I haven't seen where there's a change of clothes. I haven't seen anything in the transcripts that Eddie O'Brien changed his clothes. Which JFK was, he was reading that. I think that was a narrative that was being pushed last night. You know, that was a narrative, you know. Absolutely, justice for Jigga, you know. That was a narrative that was being talked about last night, but no way, like, he didn't have the amount of time. I mean, the crime scene was misrepresented, you know, the body evidence is unreliable. The prosecution narrative was definitely exaggerated. I mean, this alone is Rule 30 material. There's so much. And a Rule 30, he's going to have to cram everything he can because you only get one shot. So you better put everything you can in that Rule 30. Better be in that law library, you know, like typing away. You know, definitely Adi's behavior after the schmurder is very, very alarming. Allegedly, they said he followed people in the cab. You know, was he stalking neighbors? I don't know. You know, monitoring people's routine. Witnesses felt intimidated. Allegedly, did he threaten to sue anybody? I don't know. But putting himself in these conversations, lying about certain things, You know, talking about the keys. I mean, this isn't normal behavior for somebody that's not involved. Right? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's not. Let's see. This is I told him that he needed to go inside, and he repeated his question with a smug look on his face. Let me see what came before this. Oh, this is the statement of Virginia. Prior to the time that Janet Darwin kicked Audie Ortiz out of her house, the only person she was afraid of was her former husband, Paul Downing Sr. That's another thing. You don't test his blood. He wasn't in the house because he didn't want to be in the house. She didn't want him in the house. He wanted to be in the house, but you don't test the ex-husband's blood? No? Wow. So prior to the time that she kicked Ortiz out, the only person she was afraid of was Paul Downing Sr. Any deep conversations that we had, including discussions of her fear of him repeatedly coming into her house at his own free will. That's not a reason, to suspect. At that time, she never spoke of any fear of Audie, only that she didn't like him. When Audie was living at Janet's, I remember knowing that he had worked at the hood plant. Before Janet kicked Audie out of the house, she used to come to my house through the cellar. She would bring a cup of coffee with her and usually stay for an hour or so. She did not always talk. Sometimes she just seemed uncomfortable to be in her own house. Imagine that. She just didn't want to be in her house. Sometimes she would allude to Audie using and dealing drugs, allegedly, and not wanting any of it around her kids. After she kicked Audie out, she complained that she was sick of him coming in and out of the house when she was not at home. I know that he did come to the house and go frequently because I saw him there. In 2017, Audie would tell you he was never kicked out. He would tell you he never sold drugs. Yeah, me either. Yeah, that he had a great relationship with Janet, but nobody else is saying that. At first, he didn't remember losing his keys. Janet said that she knew he had been there because she would either hear it from the kids or she would find things out of place. On one occasion, she had me come over and look into her car. A bottle of windshield washer fluid had been poured out in the front passenger seat. Another time, showed me a plastic bag which hung from a beam in the cellar. The bag was filled with cat litter and cat stools. Then we found that wooden ladder, which we both used to clean the gutters for other things around the house, was missing from the cellar. On the night of the incident, I remember seeing Paul go by my window into his house. I knew he was in there alone with his mother. At exactly 8:15, I heard the loud thumps going from the top to the bottom of the cellar stairs. I assumed that they were fighting, as they always did. I am positive of the time. Then I have said before, I tried to wash dishes and had no water pressure. That always happened. if Janet was running water. That always happens if she's running water. Hey, good afternoon, Oxy. Absolutely. Ooh, it's scary. Who's getting ordered? Are you getting ordered or are you doing the ordering? Haha. You know, so what do you think so far? This is Virginia Reckley. These are questionable testimonies that's inside the Eddie O'Brien. The truth about Eddie O'Brien.com. A lot of information in here. I think everybody should go over there and check this shit out. I mean, a lot of stuff is in here. At about 9:50, I saw Ed O'Brien Sr. run by my window in Barry. Now, just 5 minutes ago, like 9:45, 9:40, Ed Jr. was just outside across the street. So it's like the time. And this is what I think Adi isn't picking up what people are putting down. He just wants to believe so bad that Eddie O'Brien Jr., you know, did it no matter what. And especially if there's a chance that there are other people involved in this. Of course, you want that so bad because if Eddie gets free, if it wasn't Eddie, then who was it? Who was the other blood? What's the other DNA, you know? And I'm sure that they checked Eddie with the blue light. At about 9:50, Eddie ran by the window. Barry and I followed Eddie into Janet's. Barry ran past me. I went inside. I saw Janet on the floor. There was small amounts of blood around the back of her head. There was no blood anywhere else in the room. I mean, all that blood could have absolutely came from when the EMTs did come in and started pumping on her. Now you're pumping and you're getting all them valves moving and all them slices, blood just, you know, it's kind of like when you're leaking fluid everywhere. No diss, you know, no diss. You know, I don't want to be disrespectful. I realized that I was stepping on two pitches that were face down and side by side, no broken glass. They were just laying there. There was no blood around the pitches or anywhere else in the area. Ryan Downing came into the foyer wearing rollerblades, and I grabbed him and turned him around. That's where somebody said that Adi might have fell. I then took him out onto the steps to remove his rollerblades. At that time, the first cop arrived. He parked his cruiser with the rear extended on the hamlet. So if he was extended on, the car was right there at the corner, right? The taxi. When the officer reached us at the front steps, he asked, "What's going on here?" I remember him seeming more like he was unconcerned. I told him that, you need to get in the house. And he questioned with a smug look on his face. I remember thinking that this guy is really not in a rush. Like, he wasn't responding to a 911 emergency or something, right? Like, he's a friggin' genius. Ryan was a wreck, crying and shaking. The cop's like, duh. I thought by my response that the cop would have stopped running in the house. I know, right? You would think that when the cop pulled up, she's like, "Oh my God." Like, you would think that. Think of it. Let's set the scene. Like, stop this for a minute. We have to set the scene. You would think there should be a friggin' mess. Absolutely, it was terrorizing her. Yeah, there are a couple things that are sus. But you know, she could have just really seen a bunch of cabs in the area, you know, because they said she was getting a little paranoid when she arrived home that evening at 5 o'clock. She backed in her driveway. She sat there. She smoked a bone, or smoked a cigarette, right? And then after that, she pulled down the street. She got out of her car. Either she brought the groceries in first, and then she came back out. She was on the front of her car, all nervous, like paranoid, thinking something was definitely wrong. You know, thinking something was definitely wrong. You know, so I think this Rule 30 stuff, the jury never heard about Janet's fear of Adi, right? The jury never heard about the stalkings, the break-ins, the sabotage, never heard about the blood inconsistencies, right? Not being tested. These are all reasons to get a new hearing. The jury never heard about Adi's suspicious ass behavior at the scene. Never heard about this dude shifting stories, and I'm sure him lying on JFK is other reasons why this is going to get approved, why he's going to get a hearing. The jury never heard about any of this stuff. There's newly discovered evidence, impeachment evidence, evidence that can be impeached. And I think now you can say that there's a third party culprit evidence. I think this shit is grounds for a Rule 30 hearing. I mean, a Rule 30 is just like what if, like a last chance, like, yeah, this is like a my bad. You know, this isn't just contradictions, is it? It isn't just inconsistencies. I mean, this is a pattern of fear, right? And like I said the other day, once this guy created fear, it was easy to get everybody to go along. First degree, my ass. I don't know how it was first degree. I mean, you got three different females. Regina, Mary, Virginia, all said what? That Janet was scared to death. Not her friggin' altar boy, Eddie. She would have smacked him in the face. I'm sure Janet knew how to handle a teenager if she needed to. She wasn't afraid of the damn kids in the neighborhood, but she was afraid of Adi Ortiz. Regina Mahoney would have testified to that. She believed Adi Ortiz entered her home when she wasn't there, had another set of damn keys, was sabotaging her shit. Like, damn, how the hell does he return a book and say he found this shit in a parking lot? Come on now. Moving shit around the house, the cat bags in the basement. This ain't normal shit. This ain't random. And the jury never heard any of it. Again, reasons for Rule 30, y'all. You know, witnesses are describing my man Adi at the scene now like a man who knew something before anyone else did, right? Now, hang on, Adi. Stay right there. His cab was parked in a strange place, right? Backwards, all that shit. His keys, where's the keys? Yeah, who the hell loses their keys on a friggin' murder scene? And the police don't ask, like, dude, why'd you lose your keys? Why was you over here? When was you over here? And where was you around 6 o'clock that evening, Artie? You know what I mean? Because after Janet went in, really, the claims that he was freshly showered, telling people that she didn't make it before anyone even knew. You know, who'd you call from the neighbor's house? I mean, this isn't how a dude acts. I know, for real. I mean, unless I had to go number two, I'm just gonna open the door and politely like go on the side of the building. Like I drive truck at night. How many times I run behind the dumpster, or like, I mean, men are gonna do it, man. Men are lazy. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Men are lazy. And y'all females, y'all done it too from time to time. I gotta go. It's crazy because the prosecution built their case on bloodbath narratives, and really, like, it really wasn't a bloodbath until the EMTs got there, and we didn't know that until we started reading the EMT reports, and then we saying that when the EMT started pumping on her, that's when it got really messy. Blood started squirting out of her. She had very little blood. The prosecution built their case on how bloody it was, but the first witness inside said there wasn't any. There was only a small amount. Another collapse in the friggin' I was gonna say Lally. Another collapse in this guy's theory. I mean, we all know his story changes like the weather. His shit changes like the weather. Well, listen, it's evidence though, and evidence the jury never heard, right? And under Rule 30, newly discovered. Here's what I think. Right here, I got newly discovered evidence, impeachment evidence, third-party culprit evidence, evidence withheld from the jury. All of that is grounds for a hearing. Every category. So I think at the end of June, when the people say, the Eddie O'Brien case is open and shut, I mean, show them that the fear that Riley put into everybody, the stalking, the fear of Janet, the contradictions, the blood testing, that alone. Shit, there's so much. There is so much. This goes on to say that then he began complaining about the missing keys. At first, he never said what happened to be why he happened to be at Janet so soon, but later he said he heard it on his cab radio from the cab company. Oh, so now he heard it on the radio. Much later, when I was questioned by the district attorney's office, they asked me about the blood that was plastered everywhere when I initially had gone into Janet's house. They got angry and argumentative with me when I said that there had been no blood, with the exception of the blood around her head. One of them yelled at me and asked me, "What do you mean? There was blood splattered all over that room. It was sprayed everywhere, all over everything." He was very upset with me. I told him that there was no blood around the room at first. However, after they took Janet away, there was a lot of blood splattered around. I also said that the splatter came from the efforts to revive her that had occurred when the EMTs were performing CPR. I said that each forceful compression on her chest has splashed blood all around. At that point, several of those present looked at each other and gave each other what I only describe as a knowing glance, and stopped discussing the blood with me. On the night of the incident, when I first gone into the house, the lack of blood had caused me to wonder if Janet had committed the S word. However, later that night, I dismissed that idea when a cop took us down into the cellar, and I saw a tremendous amount of blood smeared with several bloody handprints on the stairway wall. End of statement. The investigator then spoke briefly with Barry Reckley. Barry stated that at 9:50 he heard Ed O'Brien Sr. yelling. He said that that's when everything started, and he followed Ed into Janet's house. Spent most of the time in the front room. He remembers a number of people in and out of the house, including a fireman. He also remembers being outside after the ambulance had left and hearing Audie Ortiz telling people she's the D word. He suggests that the previous investigative notes be reviewed for details. And this is Gina Mahoney's statement. It was, the handwritten statement. And let me see if I got it. So let's transcribe this for you. Give me a minute. She did it life, and now she was afraid of grandbabies are expensive. That's right, they are expensive. That's why them super chats help. I'm going to transcribe this for you in just a minute. We're going to play a quick song. You know what I mean? Shout out to Eddie. There is also I'll show you that when I come back. You can actually, there's if you go to the help now on the on that website, you can actually donate, to Eddie O'Brien and the Rule 30 website. I mean, the Rule 30 motion that he's about to drop. Give me a moment. Be right back.
yeah. Left my house feeling good, sun shining bright. So Tony G on the porch, just a casual sight. But then I glanced down the door, wide ajar. I had to check it out, my heart racing like a car. I stepped into the entrance, felt the chill of the night. Heard some noise from within, never thought it felt so right. With the creak of the door, darkness feel like a wave. What I saw left me frozen, man, I couldn't be brave. You can charge me, but I'm not guilty. Caught in the moment, life's a little filthy. Wasn't ready for the shadows lurking near, but I hold my ground, got nothing to fear. I called out to Janet, but silence gripped my throat. My instincts kicked in hard like I'm on a tightrope. Bend down to shake a heart pounding like a drum. But what I saw next made me feel so numb. Blood on the floor like a canvas stray. Thoughts racing through my mind, what happened? Where's she dead? Caught in the scene like an actor in a play. Hoping that somehow I could just walk away. You can charge me, but I'm not guilty. Life's a battlefield, got my eyes wide, feel free. Darkness all around, but I still choose to fight. Got nothing to hide, stepping into this light. In the neighborhood where shadows cast long. Every step I take feels like I'm doing something wrong. But I'm just a witness caught in a strange view. Justice on the line, but what's a man to do? Finger pointed at me, but I can't take the blame. Standing tall in this arena, it's a twisted game. The sirens well outside, bringing chaos and heat. But truth is on my side, I won't accept defeat. Life's a rough patch, it's a turbulent sea. But in a stormy moment, I stand, I am free. No incriminations here, it's just a misunderstanding. But time will reveal truths, no need for demanding. So I keep my head high, I won't falter or bow. Charging through the thick air, stating here and now. You can charge me, but I'm not guilty. Caught in a whirlwind, but I stand gracefully. Life's twisted plots can try to bring me down, but I'm stronger than the shadows. Wear the truth like a crown. Na, na, na.
Yeah. Yeah. Them the clique they tried to bury. Yeah. I'm the storm, yeah. I'm the storm they tried to bottle. The truth they tried to drown. 15 years old, they threw a king's weight on a child's crown. But I rise like a riot, like a siren in the night. And I'm calling out the dude who's been ducking the light. Name's Art Ortiz, yeah, that fraud. Moving like a shadow puppet pulled by a coward god. Every time the block shake, he the first one to vanish. Moving like guilt, wearing sneakers, sprinting off in the panic. I'm like, why you always running when the truth get loud? Why your footsteps echo different from the rest of the crowd? You slid through the alleys like a rumor with legs. But when the questions start flying, you crack like eggs. I was sitting on the porch, whole hood saw me chilling. You was creeping through the dark like a plot. You was feeling you a ghost with the heartbeat, a whisper with shoes, a silhouette sprinting off, dropping half-baked clues. I spit metaphors heavy, you the fence jumper phantom, the backyard bandit, the night shift random. You the type to leave footprints, but swear you ain't walk. The type to hear your name whispered and pretend you ain't talk. I'm the kid they tried to bury, but I grew like a vine. Truth climbing every wall, exposing every design. You the dude in the shadows, ducking every spotlight beam, moving like a glitch in the neighborhood dream. This ain't an accusation, this a lyrical rig. A metaphor for every grown man who let a child bleed. For every dude who stayed silent while a kid took the fall. For every shadow in the night who ain't stand up at all. So fictional art, so listen, I'm the storm you can't dodge. I'm the truth in the alley, I'm the ghost in the lodge. I'm the voice of the timeline, the pulse of the street. And every lie you ever told get exposed to the beat. So keep running and hiding, but you can't escape. Truth so relentless, tide your facade's gonna break. I'm the storm, I'm the light, I'm the echo, the fight. And when the beat drops down, you're gonna feel me tonight. Yeah.
All right, we back.
That goes into that. Like,
right.
And to have the balls to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So you just walked across the street talking about the Celtics with John Roberts, talking about I'm gonna meet you at the park tomorrow. You got no chip on your shoulder whatsoever. And you walked across the street. I mean, let's get into the mind. Can we get into the mind, people? Are you still with me? You know what?
You gotta stay with us, people.
Long gamers, it is time to match the energy. Let's feel the energy. JFK in the mix. Come on.
I believe so.
The boys, the twins? The boy.
Yes.
So it was premeditated. Who started
I
it?
believe so.
The boys, the twins?
Possibly, and they brought Artie into it.
And the only reason why I'm saying this, man, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, man. I'm trying to have a discussion, man. I'm trying to have a discussion, right?
I just want to choose my words carefully. That's all.
Nah, and that's what I'm saying. Like that's why it has to. So there has to be rage for this to happen. 98 times, there's rage.
Right, and this is where I
would have that type of rage. Who would have that type of rage?
And you asked me a question the other day, and I said,
"You think it was an accident?" 98, Geraldine. Hold on a minute. Hey, Margot Nash, we want to go. Oh shit! Drink. Get up. All right.
You're spinning.
How do you actually? What's that? I'm spinning. Can you guys see me? What's going on? What are you messed up?
No, I see you.
Oh, okay, I'm back. She says it's an accident. Geraldine is 98 times. I'm sorry. That's
really not an accident.
Like, that's a crazy take. That's just my opinion. Okay, she's put in context. I don't think it was planned. It turned into a fight and rage. Okay, fine. Okay, good. Exactly. All right. I get the context of it. My bad. That comment seemed nuts. I agree with you. I don't think it was premeditated. I think, based on where her body was,
Exactly. Come on back. Now, over on the, like I was saying earlier, on the truth about, they'll catch it on the replay. The truth about Eddie O'Brien website, you can actually go over there. They have a donate section that you can actually donate. Where is it? Here we go. You know, it says every man shall give as he is able according to the blessing of the Lord your God, which he has given you. Do it 1617, and you can make a donation, and that's being organized by Margot Nash, attorney at law. You know, so you can go down and, you know, fill it out however you want to do it. You know, but yeah, definitely so help Eddie, you know, get that Rule 30 motion, which he's definitely deserving of it. The current total, let's see. Let me go back. Hold on a minute. Hold on, we're gonna go check right now. All right, now you can see me. Okay, we're gonna go check right now. You go over here, help now, press that. The total is $1,070. Wow, I thought it would be more than that at this point. You can press give or view campaign. You press view campaign. Oh, hold on. I wonder why that didn't come up. Okay. All right, yeah, so it's 1,070 right now. Someone gave $100 on Saturday. At least that was nice. It was 970. Yeah, a couple of days ago, it was $970. You know, if people have it in their hearts, you know, they can donate to the Eddie, you know, the Truth About Eddie O'Brien page. You know, but let's talk about something that's real for a second. You know, not gossip, not drama. You know, let's talk about something that is real. About this right here. You know, this looks real. You know, the parents holding a picture, seeking exoneration, you know, in truth for Eddie. You know, because right now, you know, we're standing in the middle of a case where a 15-year-old kid was sentenced to life in prison. And the more we dig, I think the more we realize the jury never heard everything. The jury never heard the full truth. We've got a juror who may have been connected to the victim's ex-husband. And I'm going to show you guys that soon. Witnesses whose stories collapse under their own weight. They can't even stand up on themselves. The evidence wasn't tested. Right? Fingerprints that don't match anybody. Right? The timeline just don't make sense. The timeline makes no sense at all. And listen, again, I have no connection to the O'Briens, never even talked to Eddie, his wife, or anybody connected with the O'Brien family. I'm doing this all because I feel it's the right thing to do. You know, the Lord has probably moved me over here to talk about this because, you know, more people to talk about it, the more people that would hear it. Yeah, right. It only says right now there's 10 people here. You know, we got to get the subscribers up. We got to get the view numbers up. But the overall numbers do okay. You know, but that's okay. Was surprised to see Eddie has less than 1,000 in his new GoFundMe to file the Rule 30. Eddie needs money to file and pay for expert testing. So possible, go donate any pennies you have. Yeah, all your spare change that you're saving, go to the store, cash in the change, you know, and donate it. You know, but they never got the friggin' truth. Evidence that wasn't tested, fingerprint that just don't match anybody at all. I mean, a man who spent, what, friggin' 30 years in the joint for a crime that he always said he didn't do. And here's the part that people don't like to friggin' talk about, right? Justice costs money. Not because it should, not because the system is built that way. Rule 30 motions take investigators, right? I'm sure forensic testing, legal filings, right? Document you got to get documents, FOIA requests. You know, you got to travel, you got to pay for friggin' court fees. You know, a lot of time. And Eddie doesn't have a friggin' machine behind him. Eddie don't have a political movement. He don't even have a PR team. He has us talking about this. He has the people who actually care about the truth. He has the people that care about fairness and getting it right. So when I say hit that donate button, I'm not asking you to fund a lifestyle. I ain't asking you to help fund justice. I'm asking you to help fund maybe some DNA testing that wasn't done, that should have been done in 95. You know, for experts who can explain what the jury never heard. You know, maybe an investigator who could track down some witnesses from 30 years ago. You know, Jay Brill is not cheap. Some legal work that can expose what was hidden. A Rule 30 hearing that could finally bring the friggin' truth into the light. And let me be clear, you know, donating to this, it ain't donating to a theory, to a rumor, it ain't donating to, you know, a documented fight backed by evidence, you know, affidavits, contradictions. You know, this is a case file that gets uglier every time we open it. Every time I read something, I think something something else, and I'm like, you don't say. That's crazy. If you believe that a kid deserves a real trial, not a not a rush trial. If you believe that the truth matters more than convenience, right? Then donate. Not because you can, not because, you know, your support actually moves the case forward. You know, every dollar, I think, is a brick in the road back to justice, you know. But if you don't mind, you can also, you know, grab a membership before you go donate. We'll both appreciate you. We'll both appreciate you. You know, we'll both appreciate you. But yeah, it looks like 13 people, you know, gave money, you know, give money up, you know, shout out to them. Now, there was more questionable testimony. How about Paul Darwin's questionable testimony? Oh shit! I thought that switched over. Yeah, where am I? This is Paul Downing used one of his jokes and tried to say Eddie told him that he was watching someone undress. The video explains where Paul came up with the lie, and the document shows Paul was caught lying on the stand.
I'll do my room another day when I clean it.
Okay, hold on. All right, good. You got this? Ready? Let's watch this video. Have we seen this video?
Bust my window. See, this is our house. This is my house across the street. I can see Jeannie when she...
Okay, there's a house across the street. Okay, this was done April 1st, 94. So it looks like the video of Paul Downing Jr.
She changed it that night. Paul, shut up.
I mean, let's watch this again.
I'll do my room another day when I clean it. My room ain't clean. This is how I live. See? My nice view. See the show in Boston. Show in Boston out the window. See, this is our house.
What do you say?
Oh, this is my house across the street. I can see Jeannie when she changed it that night. Paul, shut up. Paul, shut up. Boston out the window. See, this is our house. This is my house across the street. I can see Jeannie when she changed it that night. Paul, shut up. I'll do my room another day when I clean it. My room ain't clean. This is how I live. See? My nice view. See the show in Boston. Show in Boston out the window. See, this is our house. This is my house across the street. I can see Jeannie when she changed it that night. Paul, shut up.
Was that Paul that said that? Paul said Eddie pointed out a woman undressing across the street, but the tree blocked the view. Paul somehow didn't see any of the 30, 40 get like.
Boston out the window. See, this is our house. This is my house across the street. I can see Jeannie when she changed it that night. Paul, shut up.
It sounds like Paul said, I see Jeannie when she changes at night. I mean, the jury, I don't even think the jury heard the facts about this. They heard his son trying to make sense. Let me see. Let me see something. Oh, okay. So Paul was caught. See, Paul Downing used one of his jokes and tried to say Eddie told him that he was watching someone undress. See, the video shows Paul come up with the lie, and the documents show Paul was the one that was saying that he watched somebody undress from the window. No, let me see. Are you back with me? Yeah, he said Paul. He said Paul. Absolutely. He definitely said Paul. So cross-examination of Paul Downing by Mr. George. It's on the line too. Sitting when Edward O'Brien was talking to you about why your mother is sitting in the driveway. Yeah. And sitting in her car like that. Yes. Now you say that he asked you about that quite some bit. Isn't that so? Yeah. And that was over the course of 95, 94, and 95. He would ask you about that almost every Sunday. That's kind of weird that you would remember, particularly every Sunday, remembering some shit. Day of the week that he was asking you about it, because that was the day I would go. I'd come over to Jeannie's and get her for we had CCD class in the morning, and he'd usually answer the door. And that's when he would say that to you. All right, so Jeannie was Eddie's sister. And he said, this is where I see Jeannie. Boom. See, Paul, you dirty, rotten liar. Another lie, Paul. This time he would say it. Yeah, and CCD, it was what? Catholic education? Yeah, and that would be what? About 9 in the morning? Yeah. About 10. And you know that Eddie O'Brien worked at the Midnight Variety Store from 7 to noon almost every day. Don't you know he didn't work on Sunday with the Sunday papers? No, he'd get off early. The papers had to be done by, I think, like 7 in the morning. Eddie O'Brien was at the house when you'd come on Sunday and not at Midnight Convenience. Doing the papers? Yeah. Well, do you know John Arnold? No. From the Midnight Convenience. Do you know Francis Kling? Do you know Frank and Walter Golden? If I told you that there had been evidence presented in this case that Eddie O'Brien worked on Sunday mornings sorting the papers at the Midnight Convenience Store from 7 until noon every day, or 7 to 11, does that refresh your memory to what day of the week you used to see him and he used to say things to you constantly? Mr. Riley, objection. The court sustained. The objection is sustained. Now, the Sunday before, Mr. Downing, do you remember that you testified that the Sunday before your mother's death, you locked in on that day, and that day that Eddie O'Brien made some comment to you? Yes, and the comments that he made to you on that day, the Sunday before your mother's death, which would be the 16th of July, 1995. Did he talk to you about Mrs. Kenny's house that day? No. Is that the day he told you that he saw a woman undressing across the street? Yes. And you remember that specifically. For what reason? because that was like one of the first times I heard him ever talk about looking into someone else's window and describing what he saw, okay? And he had never done that before with you? No. And the reason you remember it was that Sunday is because that's the first time in the entire time you knew him that ever something like that. That vividly, yes, okay. That's why you remember that particular Sunday. What time? That was on the afternoon, okay. And you recall today. And I know it's hard to focus from before. Do you remember whether it was late in the afternoon or early afternoon? Probably like around 3. That's funny that he would just remember like these details, like at a certain time. You know? And again, the jury didn't hear the facts on the damn video. Give me a minute, we'll be back.
Yeah. Them the tweet they tried to bury. Yeah. I'm the storm. Yeah. I'm the storm they tried to bottle. The truth they tried to drown. 15 years old, they threw a king's weight on a child's crown. But I rise like a riot, like a siren in the night. And I'm calling out the dude who's been ducking the light. Name's Art Ortiz. Yeah, that fraud. Moving like a shadow puppet pulled by a coward god. Every time the block shake, he the first one to vanish. Moving like guilt, wearing sneakers, sprinting off in a panic. I'm like, why you always running when the truth get loud? Why your footsteps echo different from the rest of the crowd? You slither through the alleys like a rumor with legs. But when the questions start flying, you crack like eggs. I was sitting on the porch, whole hood saw me chilling. You was creeping through the dark like a plot. You was feeling you a ghost with a heartbeat, a whisper with shoes, a silhouette sprinting off, dropping half-baked clues. I spit metaphors heavy, you the fence jumper phantom, the backyard bandit, the night shift random. You the type to leave footprints, but swear you ain't walk. The type to hear your name whispered and pretend you ain't talk. I'm the kid they tried to bury, but I grew like a vine. Truth climbing every wall, exposing every design. You the dude in the shadows, ducking every spotlight beam, moving like a glitch in the neighborhood dream. This ain't an accusation, this a lyrical rig, a metaphor for every grown man who let a child bleed, for every dude who stayed silent while a kid took the fall, for every shadow in the night who ain't stand up at ball. So fictional art, so listen, I'm the storm you can't dodge. I'm the truth in the alley, I'm the ghost in the lodge. I'm the voice of the timeline, the pulse of the street, and every lie you ever told get exposed to the beat. So keep running and hiding, but you can't escape. Truth so relentless, tide your facade's gonna break. I'm the storm, I'm the light, I'm the echo, the fight. And when the beat drops down, you're gonna feel me tonight.
Yeah.
Welcome to Human Wreckage,
Yeah.
a podcast that explores the darkest
Them the
corners
tweet
of
they
human
tried to
nature,
bury.
where order shattered by
Yeah.
unimaginable violence. And the line
I'm the storm,
between
yeah.
1995
I'm the storm they
and
tried to
darkest
bottle.
corners
The
of
truth they
human
tried to
nature,
drown.
where
15
ordinary
years old, they
lives
threw
are
a
shattered
king's
by
weight on a
unimaginable
child's
violence.
crown. But I
And the
rise
line
like a
between
riot, like a
reality and
siren in the
nightmare
night.
is
And I'm
maybe
calling out the dude who's been ducking the light.
Massachusetts, a
Name's Art
close-knit neighborhood
Ortiz.
just
Yeah,
outside
that
Boston,
fraud. Moving
where
like
in
a
the
shadow
summer of
puppet pulled by a
1995,
coward god.
an
Every time
unspeakable
the
act
block
of
shake, he
brutality
the
would
first one to
forever
vanish.
alter the
Moving like
lives
guilt,
of
wearing
families
sneakers,
and
sprinting
leave a
off.
community searching for answers. This is the story of Edward O'Brien Jr., a well-liked 15-year-old high school sophomore. Smart, charming, athletic, the kind of kid you wouldn't look at twice, except maybe to say, that boy's going places. But on July 23rd, 1995, the mask dropped. That afternoon, 42-year-old Janet Downing, a mother of 4 and the single parent of O'Brien's close friend, was found brutally stabbed to death in her home. Her body was discovered by her teenage sons. The quiet streets of Somerville, Massachusetts, a close-knit neighborhood just outside Boston, where in the summer of 1995, an unspeakable act of brutality would forever alter the lives of 2 families and leave a community searching for answers. This is the story of Edward O'Brien Jr., a well-liked 15-year-old high school sophomore. Smart, charming, athletic, The kind of kid you wouldn't look at twice, except maybe to say, that boy's going places. But on July 23rd, 1995, the mask dropped. That afternoon, 42-year-old Janet Downing, a mother of 4 and the single parent of O'Brien's close friend, was found brutally stabbed to death in her home. Her body was discovered by her teenage sons, her blood staining the walls and floors of the house where she had tried to raise her family in peace. The attack was frenzied, vicious, overkill. She had been stabbed nearly 100 times. At first, investigators were baffled. There was no forced entry, nothing stolen, no known enemies, just a trail of blood, and a teenage boy with wounds on his hands, a strange explanation, and more than a few secrets. Within hours, suspicion turned toward Edward O'Brien Jr., the boy next door, the best friend of Janet's son, but no one wanted to believe it. How could a 15-year-old commit such a savage, calculated murder? How could someone so young be capable of that level of violence? As police pieced together the evidence, what emerged was a chilling portrait of a teen with a dark imagination, a fascination with knives, and perhaps a hidden rage no one had seen coming. This wasn't just a murder. It was a rupture in the fabric of a neighborhood, a crime so shocking that it would spark national headlines and a courtroom battle over whether a child should be tried as an adult for the ultimate crime. Tonight, we'll explore what happened in that quiet Somerville home. We'll trace Edward O'Brien's descent into infamy, revisit the trial that tested the limits of juvenile justice, and ask, what really turns a teenager into a killer? This is Human Wreckage, and this is the story of Edward O'Brien Jr. of July, 1995, and Janet Downing had just pulled into the drive of her Somerville, Massachusetts, home when her son, Ryan, and his best friend and neighbor, 15-year-old Edward O'Brien Jr., rushed to the vehicle to carry the grocery bags inside. Standing at 6 feet 4 inches and weighing 260 pounds, Edward was the...
And it's another picture of Janet. I don't know. Have we seen that picture?
described by the locals as a gentle giant. He was a former altar boy that loved sports. It started out as a typical Sunday. It was a scorching hot summer's afternoon, and Janet had done the grocery shopping and stopped to chat to her neighbor. They spoke of the shock of...
I mean, both of them pictures, like this picture right here. This picture of Janet right here, it's like, she looks happy, she looks young, she looks beautiful, a mother, a neighbor, a friend, someone who had a life before all this bull crap. And when you see her kneeling beside that fireplace, what do you see? You see family. You see the kind of everyday moment that gets erased when a case like this becomes a spectacle. That's why, let's fight for clarity, because behind every file number is a person. That blue dress, yes, it's striking, it's beautiful, it's calm, it's powerful. I mean, the blue color, truth, right? But that same calm image kind of sits to the chaos that follows, the friggin' investigation, the trial, the unanswered questions. Like, this is one case that screams, like, how do you not get this right? I mean, this photo is a reminder of what justice should protect.
He was a former altar boy that loved sports. It started out as a typical Sunday. It was a scorching hot summer's afternoon, and Janet had done the grocery shopping and stopped to chat to her neighbor. They spoke of the shock of the recent unsolved murder of 17-year-old Deanna Kremen. Little did they know that in just several hours, another murder would take place in their city. Janet decided to take a nap after putting the groceries away. Ryan and Edward had planned on going to the local swimming pool that afternoon. "Why is your mother sleeping?" Edward inquired as he stood staring at Janet. Ryan shrugged and said, "Let's go swimming."
I mean, you know why this case probably matters so much? It's not just about Eddie's conviction. It's about whether did Janet's story, was it ever told truthfully? I mean, watching this video, remembering Janet, remember that justice, it's not about sides. It should have been about the truth. And I don't know if they got to the truth on this. I don't know if the truth means honoring everybody involved, not just a verdict. That's Janet Downing, the woman at the center of all this. And every time we talk about this case, every time we push for Rule 30 hearing, we're asking people to donate or share the story. It's not just for Eddie. You really got to believe it's for Janet as well. And if you say, well, if you're saying free Eddie, how can you be for Janet? Because, I'm not believing that Eddie did this, and I believe that the real killer is out there. Because real justice means getting it right for everybody.
Edward decided against going swimming, and the duo went their separate ways. Some peculiar occurrences had been happening in Janet's home over the past several months. Items appeared and then disappeared, including her favorite Christmas decorations and her daughter's house keys. Someone put perfume in her coffee, put windshield wiper fluid in her car, and left a bag of clothing in her closet. It wouldn't be until 10 p.m. later on that night that Ryan came home from swimming and hanging out with his friends. He was met by an unforgettable scene. At some point between Ryan leaving the house and returning, somebody had entered their family home and brutally murdered his mother. Janet had been slashed and stabbed over 90 times. Blood was spattered all across the room and across the family photographs. Ryan ran across the street to Edward's home and told his parents to call the police. Edward O'Brien Sr. ran to the Downing family home after calling the police, assuming that some kind of accident had taken place. He realized straight away that he was in the middle of a gruesome crime scene, and that this certainly was no accident. Who could do such a thing, he wondered. Within days, however, his own son would be charged with the murder. As police were rushing to the crime scene, Edward Jr. walked to the store where he worked part-time. He told the manager that he had been mugged and slashed with a knife by muggers who he said were African.
I mean, that's the problem right there. That's where a lot of people got hung up on.
American or Hispanic. He was reluctant to call the police, but the manager persuaded him. His hand was sliced up pretty severely, and he had fresh scratches and blood on his legs. When police arrived to take Edward's statement in regards to the so-called mugging, they became immediately suspicious. The area Edward claimed he had been mugged was a highly trafficked area, yet nobody saw a thing. They became even more suspicious when Edward recited his address. 3 friends of Edward and Ryan came forward to recollect that they had gone to Ryan's house that night, but received no answer at the door. They stated that they heard loud noises coming from the backyard. When they went to investigate, they found Edward crouching in the bushes. They said he glanced and smiled at them before calmly walking away without saying a word. According to investigators, they found Edward's fingerprints and blood on the front door, as well as on a wooden post in the cellar. In addition, a knife hilt found in Janet's home matched a knife owned by Edward that they later found in the trash. When Edward was arrested and charged with Janet's murder, he was unnaturally cool. There was absolutely nothing coming out of him. Nothing No fear, no screaming, I didn't do this. Nothing in any way that resembled what you might expect out of a 15-year-old kid who's being charged with cutting up his best friend's mother.
You're a big boy. You know, but I think when people talk about the Eddie O'Brien case, Janet's name, does it get reduced to just a headline? Come on, we only got 10 people up in here. Does it get reduced to just a headline? But I'll tell you what, that image of her in the blue dress definitely, definitely brings her back. And that's why this case still matters, because the truth about what happened to Janet, doesn't it deserve daylight? It deserves to be told. We need to remember Janet, get the truth, free Eddie, remember Janet. There's justice on both sides here. And truth means getting it right, for Janet, for Eddie, for everybody involved. Oh, yeah. Go back to the video.
His eyes were black. Nothing there. It made my blood run cold. Recalled Middlesex County District Attorney Tom Riley. While Edward initially claimed that he hadn't been in the Dowling home on the night of the murder, when presented with the evidence that placed him at the scene, he changed his story. He then claimed that he had encountered a masked man over the body of Janet, and that the man threatened to kill him if he told anybody about what he had seen. Edward was tried as an adult due to the horrific nature of the crime and an ambitious district attorney, Thomas Riley. During his trial, it was theorized that Edward killed Janet because he had developed a sexual obsession with her. According to Riley, Edward used a telescope to watch Janet undress from across the street. He also asserted that he was fascinated with violence. Edward refused to testify at trial. Edward O'Brien Jr. was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The jury had deliberated for 8 hours before deciding that Edward used extreme cruelty and atrocity when he killed Janet. As the sentence was read aloud, his father gasped, "Oh my God," but Edward showed no emotion. As he was led from the courtroom, his father shouted, "We know you're innocent. We love you." According to Edward's family, Janet's brother-in-law, Artie Ortiz, was the real killer. She was afraid of Artie Ortiz. "He murdered her," shouted Edward's mother, Tricia, following the verdict. "You're a liar. You're a liar," screamed Janet's daughter, Carrie Ann Downing. Ortiz and his wife had lived with Janet. However, 4 months before her murder, Janet kicked them out after she discovered that Ortiz had been dealing drugs out of the home. Apparently, he refused to return his key.
He refused to return his keys. People forget about all of this.
Ortiz was never even considered a suspect in Janet's murder. According to Middlesex County District Attorney Thomas Riley, there was never any evidence pointing towards him being guilty, but a profusion pointing towards Edward. It's a terrible injustice that has been done by even bringing in a man who is totally innocent into this case by injecting his name into this case, he said. Tricia told people that Edward was a scapegoat. She contended that Ortiz's cab was towed from their street on the night of the murder with a trail of blood beside it. However, police stated that the blood was Edward's and the cab was towed because Ortiz lost his keys in the confusion of the murder. Make no sense about it. It was the evidence that convicted Edward O'Brien, said Riley. In the book, The Politics of Murder, Margot Nash, a trial attorney assigned by the court to be Edward's guardian, highlighted some of the evidence which she claimed pointed towards Edward being innocent and Ortiz guilty. The attack was so vicious that there was blood across the stairs and walls, pooling at the floor. However, Edward had no blood on him. The prosecutor decided against identifying the DNA under Janet's fingernails, as well as other DNA and fingerprints at the scene. Gina Mahoney, a neighbor, had seen Ortiz entering Janet's home when she was out several times in the past. Furthermore, before her murder, Janet had expressed her fears about Ortiz. When Mahoney asked to speak to investigators, they declined her attempts to be interviewed. They also refused to speak to Virginia Recly, who had apparently heard a commotion at a point during the short time window when the murder could have taken place, but when witnesses had established that Edward was elsewhere. While the evidence against Edward may have been compelling at the time, the crime scene had not been adequately secured for several hours, and while more is known about forensic science nowadays, that may have raised reasonable doubts in a jury's mind. In 2013, a ruling by the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court ruled that juveniles convicted of murder serving a mandatory life sentence should have a chance at parole, meaning Edward's case could go up for review. However, to be eligible for parole, Edward would have to confess to the crime. Since he professes his innocence, that is something he is not willing to do. Edward O'Brien Jr. was convicted of the murder of Janet Downing in 1996. He was 16 years old when the trial began and 17 when the verdict came down, guilty of first-degree murder. He's now serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole.
You know, and Janet was terrified of Adi Ortiz. You know, that's what multiple witnesses says. She believed he was entering her home. She believed when she wasn't even there that he had a second set of keys. You know, if you believe what Regina Mahoney says, you believe what Mary says, what you believe what Virginia Reckley says, there was fear over and over, missing items that were moved around, vandalism, taxi cabs surrounding her. That could have been a little paranoia. But do you believe that? I think I pinned it. You can actually go check it out. I believe I pinned it. Yeah, I believe I pinned it.
Take a moment before we dive in. Let me show some love, you know. Yeah. Turn on the stream, feel the energy rise. Shout out to the fam, the ones in the skies. Every comment, every laugh keeps the vibe alive. You're the heartbeat of the chat, yeah, we thrive. Pulling up each night, ready to roll. You make this place lit. Body and soul, minds in the back, heavy lifting, they don't play. Keeping it smooth, watching traffic every day. Peacekeepers on alert, holding down a fort. Crew full of love, every stream they support. To the chat, to the crew, yeah, we shine bright. Are the backbone of the night, holding us tight. To the members, true believers, making it real. You're the pulse in our heart, let's do the deal. To the chat, to the crew, yeah, we shine bright. Are the backbone of the night, holding us tight. To the members, true believers, making it real. You're the pulse in our heart, let's do the deal.
We see you dedicated, going the extra mile. Not just watching you invested, that's the style. Lights on, vibe strong, every show's a hit. Community together, can't take a minute to quit. You keep us going, no watered down vibe. From the chest to the miles, know we thrive.
Major respect to the ones who keep it clean. Clean up crew rolling, y'all know what I mean. don't try it today. They say we're the clans, bringing peace to the chaos, giving us a chance. To the chat, to the crew, yeah, we shine.
Here's some of the interview with Eddie's parents. Shout out to James Jackson. You can go check that out over at James Jackson's channel.
It was on the news. It was on TV. The news people got the copy of the tape. It was plastered all over the news. We were horrified. Not horrified, but we were saying, how the hell did they get a copy of this stuff?
So we have a lawyer in here, right? Her name is Nan Gallagher. She's a friend of the show. She's a great lawyer, and she's a very great one. Okay, all right, that's fine. And can we play a little bit of the parole? Can we play a little bit of the parole?
Sure. Yeah, good. That's why Ed wanted me to send it to you.
All right, I'm gonna play a little bit of the parole when they're asking him questions about why he didn't say anything. And I think that's like the main thing here. Like, I think like if that never happened, he said it himself, that's the biggest mistake he ever made. I think like that's the hottest obstacle he had, that he never said anything. But then again, he's 15 and he's scared, right?
Yeah, and he wasn't your regular 15-year-old kid. He acted younger than a 15-year-old kid.
All right, let's play a little bit of that. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. We can watch it, people. This is Eddie now at his parole hearing. That's Eddie. And it's a little low. You guys probably can't hear the guy talking. Eddie's nice and clear. This is the much volume I can get, but check it out, people.
And 2 weeks later, after consulting with the lawyers, you decided to tell the truth regarding that?
That is correct.
And why was it you decided not to tell the truth initially?
I think it was just being stupid, scared. I think it was my belief that I didn't do this. This is just a mistake. They'll probably find out who did it. And then I think
your best friend's mother, your next door neighbor. Why would you not say something at that point?
When that night?
Once you observe what you did.
What do you, I didn't do anything.
No, once you observed what you saw, I should say.
He said, I didn't do anything. I like that. I didn't do anything. I mean, Eddie was 15 years old. I mean, he's been arrested for a murder. He said he didn't commit. He was terrorized. He was terrified, right? Isolated, told by adults, lawyers, cops, investigators. Like, don't speak at all. He didn't understand the system. I could talk about this forever. He didn't understand his rights, right? He didn't understand fear. So when they said he didn't talk for 2 weeks, I mean, you do have a right to remain silent. He followed the advice, right, of the people who told him to stay quiet until counsel arrived. So when people say, why didn't he say anything for 2 weeks? Well, don't say anything until you get a lawyer. So when they say he didn't say anything for 2 weeks, what they mean is, right, that he followed the advice of the people who told him to shut the F up. What's that video? Them lawyers, shut the F up. What are you doing? The cops got you. You shut the F up. What do you say when the cops are questioning you? You shut the F up. We're over here now. We're reacting to the JFK, James Jackson, conversation with Eddie O'Brien and the mom.
Did I mean what you actually said?
I understand. That is one of the biggest regrets I have. I wish I had an answer for you. I just think it was the shock. I mean, I can't explain it. You're right. I should have.
Man, you said it was a big mistake.
Saw someone in there? And that's where you want to leave it? You don't want to communicate who that person was or anything?
That's correct.
And you maintained that for your 29 years in prison?
Except for those first 2 weeks.
Wow.
Okay. Now, as far as disclosing who that person was.
Hi, babe.
What I like to say is I don't want people to believe me what I have to say. The evidence is going to speak for it. And there's a lot of evidence there that doesn't, there's DNA profiles there that's not me.
So I got one specific.
He's right. He's right. There's DNA profiles there that's not him. Hey Rando, did you share this to the Free Eddie page? Can you do that? But at this hearing, Eddie's explaining, you know, that he was mugged, he was jumped by all the kids. He still says that. Just days before, wait a minute, just days before it happened, Eddie explained that he was mugged, jumped by other kids just days before the murder. He said he was shaken up, bruised, and scared to walk alone. Was it days before? The incident made him withdraw even more. He didn't trust anyone. He didn't feel safe. And when the cops came for him, he thought it was connected to the mugging, not a murder. Ah, interesting. Yeah, big shout out to JFK and James Jackson.
Yep.
Did you at any point specifically identify someone else?
Probably not.
Never?
Never.
Okay. And the reason for not doing that was what?
I don't think anyone cares to hear what I have to say about that. Especially back then.
Not even to a close family member?
Oh, I mean, that's different.
Well, have you or no?
That's correct.
You did?
I have,
You have?
yes.
Okay. But that never came out to assist you in any way over the years?
No. My lawyers at that time during the trials, the transfer hearings, as you can see, they didn't put on a defense.
Okay.
They didn't put anything on. He wanted more money, and that's all he cared about. No experts, no challenging. We were made promises about everything, and we had nothing.
If you did do this crime, it would be pretty concerning. This is not an average murder. It's very sadistic. There's indication there might be some sexual violence involved. 98 times she was stabbed or slashed. What do you think in terms of rehabilitation that would take?
I can't answer that. I don't know. That's
the only reason I'm asking you that is because you were convicted by a jury.
Yep.
You've been trying to appeal this for how many years now?
Well, I've never filed an appeal. It seems like there's always been
you had the initial appeal after you were
convicted. It was the direct appeal, correct.
And since then, you didn't file any further appeals?
So after that direct appeal, my attorney was working on the case, had a heart attack. It took me several years to find new attorneys. This is actually how I met Jack. I had a law firm that came into this case from Washington, D.C. They needed local counsel. They wanted to overturn the juvenile life sentence issue in Massachusetts. And that's all they really much cared about. They wanted to overturn it. Then we were asked not to file anything because the publicity on my filing might have affected the issue. So we took a step back on that. After the juvenile issue came about, they didn't really stick around. And that's when someone put my name in for the Innocence Program. After a review, they accepted it. And then it just didn't work out with those initial attorneys. But the attorneys that I have now, it's working out, and we're about to file.
All right, so I'm going to read to you some portions of prior testimony from the transcript. I just want to get you to comment on this, what your thoughts are. I understand that Dr. Kinshirf wrote an updated evaluation concerning you, but I believe he was also involved in the evaluation concerning the transfer.
He had some part of I was never evaluated by him, but I know he did testify for the defense, for the prosecution at that time.
So I just want to read you some portion just to get your thoughts on this. And I'm not sure if his position is still the same today, but I'm curious as to what you think of his opinion then. It said, that Dr. Kinshirf testified that assuming the material reviewed are accurate and true, including evidence that the perpetrator watched the victim undress, that the perpetrator made numerous comments concerning the victim's sexual orientation, that the injuries to the victim were as set forth in the autopsy report and testimony of the medical examiner, and assuming there were numerous cuts consistent with being cut with a knife to the victim's bra, those factors made him extremely concerned. And I think they're referring to Dr. Kinshirf when they said that this behavior represents a sexualized nature to the assault, which takes this to the domain of possibility, sexualized sadism or sexualized sexual attack, which also involved gratuitous mutilation of the body and the death of the victim, placed this in a category both a very dangerous individual, but amongst those generally thought to be the least amenable to rehabilitation. What do you think of that? This is all supposition. If you
assuming
committed this crime.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think two answers to that. Number one, you have Dr. Kinshirf here today to speak on that. And number two, the evidence he was presented was either false, fabricated, or made up, and he wasn't given the whole evidence at that time by DA Tom Riley. The opinion, what he made his opinion on, was the evidence Tom Riley presented to him. It wasn't evidence of the whole case.
So he was assuming you did it, basically. Not that.
From what
just assuming if it were true.
My talks with Dr. Kinshirf was he never made the opinion that it was me.
No, I get that.
No, just not whether I'm, it was if yes,
you were the individual who committed such a crime.
Right.
Then you'd fit a certain profile, is what he's suggesting. But he's not saying you did.
Right.
I just want to make
if I might, Mr. Coleman, in the transfer hearings, there was a Part A and a Part B, and the Part A would be is there probable cause to believe the person committed the crime. With Mr. O'Brien's case, there was no Part A because he had been indicted. So every witness so only the Part B was either before originally Judge Heffernan or it's the second time before Judge Galey. Every witness was told that because the probable cause had been found, and it's found by the indictment itself, then they have to consider that he did it, because that's the way the transfer hearing worked. And that's just, it's throughout the transcript, but legally that's also the way that's an accurate statement, that if once probable cause is found in a transfer hearing, then the assumption is that the person did it. And in that context, in the Part B, are they going to be ability to be rehabilitated by age 21? Because that was the age at that time of DYS. Yep. I just wanted to give you the legal framework.
And just to touch on that, if you don't mind. Looking through Tom Riley's notes now, he didn't even believe that evidence back then.
Okay. So let me move on. And like I said, this is just assuming you committed this crime. And you have to understand, us sitting here today, we have to treat you as having committed this crime because you were convicted of the jury. It's not our job to retry this case. You do understand that?
Correct.
The appellate process ongoing.
Yep.
The former FBI agent, who I think you mentioned was thrown out of court on several occasions, he also had an opinion on this. And I just want to read that to you and get your feelings. And this is going to lead into the whole idea of rehabilitation and what you've been doing over the years. He said the offender is someone who is not horrified by what he's done, not repulsed. He is interested in his own injuries at the house. He didn't plan on the knife breaking, and he didn't plan on his friends coming to the house because he thought the family was done for the evening and the victim was alone. The crime being interrupted by the friends knocking on the door forced him out of the house. This shows rational decision-making, clear thinking, adaptive, and resourceful, and someone familiar with the interior layout of the house. Blood evidence shows that he went down the back stairs, leaving the bloody fingerprint on the post at the bottom of the stairs, blood on items that were hanging on a line in the basement, pulled aside to get outside the cellar door. He is seen by his peers coming out of the thicket behind the house and walking down the street where 20 droplets of blood were later found. The murder weapon was not recovered, but a broken knife hilt was, and the clothing worn leaving the scene was not recovered. Concerning post-offense behavior of the offender, the query testified that he found O'Brien's report of the alleged robbery significant because it showed a resourceful, adaptive approach to unforeseen circumstances. He staged an event in Union Square to provide an excuse for the wound to his hand, which a 15-year-old showed criminal sophistication, and or confidence. He called the police, and on the 911 call, he was calm, not panicked. He made no mention of an injury.
Each other, respecting each other, caring for each other, building each other up. That's what I would take to the community. My family and friends all know who I am, and they're not supporting me just because they think I'm a good guy. They respect me. They love me. And I would take that to the streets with me. I respect, as you can see, I haven't received a disciplinary ticket in over 10 years. I haven't been found guilty of a disciplinary ticket in over 10 years.
Tell them.
I respect the officers who treat us horrible. I treat people the way I want to be treated, and it's about respect and decency.
Great, thank you. That's
Thank
all
you.
the questions I have this afternoon.
Thank you.
Board member Ortiz.
George, who was a half decent gentleman. His brother worked at the Supreme Court.
He was a clerk.
He was a clerk. He took the phone call, and here's a grown-ass man. He just started crying. And this is one of Ed's lawyers. And once I saw the tears coming out, I'm like, are you shitting me? Are you kidding me? He's actually going to bring this to the Supreme Court, a bail hearing? I just couldn't believe it. And Tricia couldn't believe it. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible.
He got the phone call and it was over.
Yeah.
That he was going back to Plymouth. It was.
And what was it? And what was Eddie like after that? I mean, because at this point, right, like he's got to start losing hope, and you know, and unfortunately he's got to like adjust to this DYS life, which, you know, to me, I feel like DYS is a little bit tougher than jail in some ways, but that's just my opinion. And what was he like when they took the bail? What
he was very disappointed. He was coming home. He was gonna, you know, It was Christmas. It was Mary's
Yeah.
birthday.
Yeah.
We had
Oh
her
my
cake
God.
that day. And
Have mom's Christmas dinner, the turkey with this. You know what I mean?
that he just
What
he
date
didn't
was it?
wanna-
What date was it exactly? Do you remember the date?
22nd of December. Happened before.
Never happened before. Now, what was
Just
he like? What
Just
was he
like
like?
Judge Heffernan being removed from the case. Never happened before. To avoid further controversies.
We didn't even get a hearing for that.
Yeah, Judge Heffernan, they got rid of him. The whole thing, you got to understand. All right, Bob George was just terrible, terrible lawyer. And he took 170 grand from us. He says he was going to put on Michael Baden. He was going to do this. He was going to do that.
Have a DNA expert.
He was going to have DNA, but he
No
never gave
experts.
us shit.
Nothing.
He just took our money and ran.
And 5 years later, 5 years later, let's be clear, he went to jail.
Yeah.
Right.
The whole thing is he told us everything that was, I'm gonna have this guy, I'm gonna have that guy, I'm gonna have Baden, I'm gonna do this. We're in trial. And he's still telling us this. Okay. And the day before the end of the trial, he said, no, he doesn't want to testify. I said, what? What's going on? He didn't call us that night. He didn't answer any phone calls that night or anything. We went into court the next day, and that was it.
But you got to understand also, and I hate to say this, and we're not like this family. I mean, we're a mixed family, but this whole thing started with the super predator bullshit.
Yep.
And they wanted to change the laws in Massachusetts. And what better than a big white Irish Catholic altar boy whose grandfather was the ex chief of police of Somerville to change the law in Massachusetts to screw all the kids in Dorchester, Mattapan, and Roxbury. That's what it was all about. And they would say anything, do anything to change these laws. Riley had his whole political career at stake because I made the comment that this son of a bitch was going to ride our son's coattails to become attorney general. And
God damn. Hey, good thing there's only 11 people here. You know? But before we talk about Eddie O'Brien, right? Back in like the 1990s, there was some political freaking guy, right? And he was going around saying that there was a whole bunch of kids right? That was going to be like violent. They were going to be remorseful, crazy, beyond rehabilitation. And he was predicting tens of thousands of these kids. It was just chaos all across America. It's going to be crazy across malls everywhere, but he had no numbers to back this shit up. Right? But if you make people afraid, that's how you win elections, right? And overnight, everybody was petrified, right? Newspapers were saying, like, oh, teenage time, this and that. Kids without consciences, the coming wave, the natural born killer era, TVs had mugshots of these kids, and a lot of them were black and brown. And of course, they were calling them super predators right on air. Joe Biden even said something about it. Everybody was panicking. And the justice system responded the only way it knew. It knew how, right? It cracked down. But during that era, a lot of states across the country ended up passing laws, right? They made it easier to try kids as adults, right? They expanded a lot of the minimum sentences, right? They reduced discretion, increased a lot of juvenile detention. They started building more prisons. They started treating 13 and 14 and 15-year-olds like grown-ass men, waving kids to adults. Kids stopped being kids. They became political chess figures at that time. And I think Massachusetts was right in the middle of all of that shit. Where Eddie O'Brien fits into all of this, right? And we'll see if his parents kind of meet me where I'm saying. Eddie O'Brien was only 15 years old back in 95. Right? 1995, the exact age of the super predator myth. Politicians were under pressure, right? The public was terrified. Of course, the media is going to blow it up, and prosecutors, shit, they're going to be tough on crime. So when Homeboy seen this shit, it was his, what I said the other day, it was his friggin' white Cadillac. So when a brutal homicide hit Somerville, right, the system didn't see a scared kid. It saw a friggin' headline. It saw a friggin' headline. Please tell me I'm wrong. Amen.
Eventually governor. And he said, oh, no, I'm happy where I am. 2 weeks after the conviction, he put his papers in to become attorney general.
Did he become attorney general?
Yes.
Wow.
2 weeks after. So when a brutal schmurder hit Somerville, right? When a brutal schmurder hit Somerville, this was his, what I said the other day, his white Cadillac. Just like Karen Reed was their white friggin' Cadillac. They saw a headline. And Eddie walked straight into that political friggin' machine. Just like Karen Reed walked right into that political machine. That law put a lot of people in jail. And guess what? The whole system collapsed. It didn't even work. Right? Years later, years later, when the truth started coming out, the super predator prediction was friggin' wrong. They had all these kids in prison. All these juvenile crimes actually fell in the 90s, right? The kids who they coined the term publicly, researchers called him one of the biggest crime failures, I think, in history. Some shit like that, you know. But the shit was already done. You had thousands of kids, and Eddie was one of them. Man, pick up a book. You'll read. A lot of these kids were sentenced under these laws unfair. It was unfair. So when we talk about Eddie O'Brien, we're not just talking about one case here. You know, this is about a whole era of kids became demons, and now they're on demon time. A moment in history when America lost its mind over this shit. These are all facts. See, they don't want to hear the untruth. That's why, you know, they'll shadow ban me. They don't let my stuff get out there. That's why you have to share it. That's why I bet y'all don't even get notifications, and you probably click the bell notification button, and you probably don't. They don't want people to know this stuff. This is why most of the time it tells me that my videos not eligible to be monetized. So I appreciate when people do the super chats and they do all that stuff, and they hook me up with the Venmo, you know. They don't want this stuff to be out. They don't want people to know this shit. They don't want people to know that they ruined a whole generation of kids, and then kids stop being kids. They sent some kids to prison. And when justice took a backseat to politics, Eddie O'Brien became the one of the faces of the era. Not because of evidence, because of timing. You see his parents telling you.
Wow. And he went for governor.
And then he ran for governor, but he picked the wrong lieutenant governor that owed back taxes for years. So that kind of put him at a disadvantage. But
now, was your father alive during this whole time? Did he make it through to see all this? No.
No, he only lived from
transfer hearing.
From April. He died in April of '96.
Scout, what would you have done if you were the
president?
The whole thing is the lies that they told, the evidence that they hid.
So they hid a lot of. There's a lot of evidence that's hidden that he's going to bring out in this appeal. Now, keep in mind, he did the direct appeal right when you first initially get convicted.
Yeah,
you got 60 days.
Lunt.
You got 60 days to present it. He did that, and he waited all the way until now. Now, did the law change? The juvenile law changed for him. It changed also again in 2023 for anybody under the age of 18.
20.
Now it's 20. Yeah, 20 and under now, right? But it's so now in 2013 the law changed 18. So when he was 17, he got convicted in 97. 17 years old, he goes straight to Walpole State Prison. Correct?
Well, he went to Concord for 6 days.
6 days. So usually, I mean, unless you know better than. But, you know, he went to Concord, and usually when they send someone to Concord, they're there for like 6 months.
Yeah, he went from there to Walpole.
Yeah.
He was there for 6 days.
Yeah, they tried to do him in.
Me and Trisha were driving up to Concord to visit him,
and
we had the radio on. They said they just transferred Eddie O'Brien to Walpole. And it was saying, what? You got to be shitting me.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the thing that people got to understand. If Eddie didn't have strong paperwork to show people, to say, you know, and you know, the good thing about it, right? The only good, I mean, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but the only good part about him being in DYS is that there was probably a couple people in Walpole that he knew from DYS or knew somebody and helped them get through that, navigate through Walpole, because the word was already out that he was being framed up, you know, and he had the paperwork to prove it, because with them type of charges, he wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes in Walpole State Prison.
Absolutely not.
You know?
And you got to understand too, with the blood, they took, I think, 2 or 3 vials of blood from him. which we absolutely believe they sprinkled some of that blood on items, because who sends, how many items were there?
I think there were like 6 items that went down to
Quantico. FBI lab in Quantico.
And we didn't find out. It was taken from the crime lab in December of 95.
Yep.
It wasn't received by the FBI until January 22nd.
Yeah.
After Mary Kate McGilvery, who was from the crime lab, stated that she sent it down there. So it was over a month. We don't know where it was.
No chain of custody.
No chain of custody.
No chain of custody. Yep.
Nothing.
I read that.
It stayed down there for 6 months. No testing was done, and then sent back. Okay. Then all of a sudden, new items went down as Selmark. So why didn't he test the same items?
Right.
Because
why don't you explain what Selmark is?
Selmark is
DNA diagnostic company.
Laboratory, yeah.
Okay.
So it comes back from the FBI, again, no chain of custody.
Yeah.
He switches up the items and he sends them to Selmark, which he's pretty friendly with. And why would you do
Thomas
that?
Riley.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
And the FBI supposedly has no record of it ever going down there.
Because we put a Freedom of Information Act in, and they said that it never came here. So where was it for 6 months?
That's crazy.
And they had his blood. And believe me, as you well know with the Karen Reed thing and all that stuff, these guys in the CPAC unit, they'll do anything. They don't care.
The whole thing too is the chemist from the state crime lab, Pino, he was fired. And also Mary Kate McGilvery, who did the testing, she was fired from the crime lab. Both of them were fired from the crime lab.
Who said it was Ed's blood?
She said he couldn't be excluded.
Yeah, he couldn't be excluded. That's what he said.
Right. That's what the big saying is.
Well, what about that? Can you guys speak to the blood that was allegedly on the dress?
That wasn't his.
It wasn't his.
It wasn't his.
So the blood on the dress, they said it didn't come back to him. The blood on the dress.
It wasn't DNA tested.
Yeah, the pink dress, that wasn't his.
That was hanging on a clothesline, allegedly
down the cellar.
Right.
Yeah. Now, what about the blood that was behind the cab? Was that ever tested?
Well, we're not going to talk more about the blood.
That's fine.
It was tested, but it wasn't DNA. Nothing was DNA tested.
Okay. So what about so there was a hair, and like I said, I don't want to,
yeah.
People can Google this stuff and you guys can make your own assessment.
Right.
And we could talk about it when they're not on the show, ladies and gentlemen. We can break this. So much to talk about. I have a lot of information and I don't want to disrespect Eddie and sure don't want to little Ed sure don't want to disrespect his parents. But there was a piece of hair in her hand, right? Can we agree to that?
There was a clump of hair in her hand.
That's crazy. And they never tested it.
That wasn't.
Was that now? Did they bring that up in trial? Like when the trial's going on, because when we talked to Margot, she said they didn't even bring up the DNA under the fingernail or the hair. They just didn't even bring it up.
Thank you, Bob George.
What they said was,
Bob George,
inconclusive. Everything was inconclusive because they didn't know whose DNA it was. It wasn't Ed's. But they said it was inconclusive.
And you're going to also realize they found a hilt of a knife on the stairs.
Yep.
It had Janet's DNA on it and a male DNA on it.
Another one.
But it wasn't Ed's.
But
they said it wasn't, and they said that was inconclusive, even though he was excluded.
No, they said it was inconclusive. So they said that at trial that it was inconclusive. Even though he was excluded.
Excluded, right.
And his lawyer never corrected him on that.
No.
His lawyer never had any DNA testing done.
Right.
We were told everything was going to be done. We were told so many things.
Yeah.
We were told DNA testing, they were going to test the hair. It's all.
What did his lawyer do with the 100 and what is it? The $170,000. What the hell did his lawyer friggin' do? You know, with all that friggin' money. Seriously, like that's crazy. You know, whose DNA was found in, no DNA from Eddie O'Brien was found at the crime scene? Is that what the parents are saying? And credit JFK, this is his footage, so, go over there and check it out, but no DNA from Eddie O'Brien, and no one else is talking about this stuff the way I'm breaking it down. JFK is taking care of the Adi situation. Nobody's talking about this stuff like I'm breaking it down. None. Zero. Nobody. Just like no DNA from the O'Brien was found at the crime scene. None. Zero. Yeah, see, they don't ever want to say, they don't want to let my shit out. The lawyer didn't do anything exactly. Zilch. Nada. That's a hell of a lot of green. Hell yeah. That was his white Cadillac. The clothes. Look, there was no DNA on the victim. There was no DNA on the knife. They don't even have the actual murder weapon, right? The clothes, the wall, no DNA. The floors, no DNA. The bathroom, no. The sink, no. Towels, blood pools, the staircase, the basement, the door handles. I mean, for a crime the prosecution described as a bloodbath, no DNA. Unidentified DNA was found. Whose? And it was never tested because after they stopped O'Brien's, after they said it don't come back as Eddie, the lawyer was like, the prosecutor was like, oh shit. Well, if I test the other ones, it's gonna show that I sent the wrong kid up the damn river. Nobody's breaking this shit down like this. Nobody. The defense ended up requesting DNA samples, right, from Paul Downing Sr., Paul Downing Jr., Ryan Downing, Kerry Ann, Adi. I think this is big right here. And Adi, nobody's bringing you shit. We're not breaking it down like this. Nobody. The Commonwealth objected, right? And the judge denied the request. Like, Judge, really? I can't get the people in the house? She was petrified of Paul Downing Sr., as petrified as she was of Adi Ortiz. We can go back and look at Virginia Reckley's testimony. She had problems with her kids. and the Commonwealth objects. So now, in 1995, we didn't know whose DNA was at the scene. And guess what? In 2026, we still don't know whose DNA was at the scene. No one's breaking this shit down like this. And one of the most important pieces of evidence. How about the hair? Was hair found? Well, it was inconclusive. Was it in Janet's hands? Was it on her body, on the bed, on the floor? Tell me, I can't wait to know, but none of it matched Eddie O'Brien. Read the freaking paperwork. Read something, man. Pick up something and educate your friggin' mind. But the defense wanted them compared to the Downing and Ortiz. But guess what? The Commonwealth says, oh, no, judge, no. What do you mean, no? Why not? And the Commonwealth ends up blocking it. True shit. Swear to God. No bull crap. They end up blocking the friggin' shit. They end up blocking it. I mean, if you go over there, the truth about Eddie O'Brien.com, and you look at the section, it has testimonies, things that are like screwed up. You got Adi Ortiz, Paul Downing. You click on Paul Downing, and it's bringing up a tab. I was on his porch. Was anyone else there? Oh, let me get it. Here we go. Was anyone else present in that house that day? Other than Jeannie? Yeah, Jeannie was there. Well, if I told you that Eddie O'Brien's grandfather's birthday party was that day, and there was almost 30, 40 people there, would that refresh your memory, Mr. Riley? Objection sustained. Did you see Eddie O'Brien's grandfather there that day? No. Did you see any guests at the birthday party that day? No. Do I remember any guests? No. At the Bryan house, not in the street around that area. So nothing was going on in the house. And this is cross-examination of Paul Downing by Mr. George. You're certainly not mistaken as to whether anyone else was there besides Jeannie, are you? No. The blood on the knife did not match Eddie. The victim's blood, no trace of Eddie's DNA, no fingerprints from Eddie. And if Eddie stabbed someone 98 times, the expectation is what? He would transfer smear something, touch DNA, some kind of sweat. How about skin cells? Something would fall off. Nothing. Never found. But there also has never been no modern DNA testing has ever been done in this case. So, I think this is the heart of the Rule 30 fight right here. That evidence still exists in this case, and it could still be tested today, but it never has. No one's breaking this shit down like this. Nobody. How about the Judge Heffernan interview? Did you all check that out? then I gotta go soon. Break it down. Judge Paul Heffernan. You know, you called it a bloodbath. You would expect the science to tell the story, but when you look at the forensic evidence, the story fell apart. So, no DNA from Eddie O'Brien was found at the crime scene. You know, and then we have the interview report of Judge Paul Heffernan. Right, Adi could not be excluded. I think I've seen that too. I think that was in these records. Yeah, that was in the let's see, evidence, I believe. That was right over here, I believe. Denial of DNA testing in other suspects. This is where they're basically saying that the blood samples and stuff and Adi Ortiz, you know, please note my objection. They basically didn't even test any of the other people. Look, with regards to Paul Downing Jr., Paul Downing Sr., Ryan, Kerry Ann, and who is Adi Ortiz? Oh, brother-in-law, a victim. Oh, yeah, and him too. So Heffernan recalled the base of the evidence. The Eddie O'Brien, this was the transfer hearing, Judge Paul Heffernan. He ended up coming back, I think, and testifying for Eddie. But before Eddie O'Brien, this is when I think he had before the super predator panic swallowed him whole. One judge, the decision made by, let's see, Judge. Oh, all right. And that decision made by Judge Paul Heffernan ripped the 15-year-old boy out of the juvenile system and threw him into the adult world, where the sentence wasn't rehabilitation, it was life. Tonight we're breaking down, okay. 1995, peak super predator hysteria. Politicians were terrified. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, juvenile transfer hearings. Is this child so dangerous, so beyond rehabilitation that the juvenile system cannot handle him? The law requires the judge to consider the child's background mental health, school history, family environment, prior record. Judge Heffernan, he leaned heavily, almost entirely on the nature of the offense and not the nature of the child. He didn't look at Eddie's age, clean record, school performance, psychological evals. He has no violence, no behavioral issues, strong family support. He went all on the fear of the crime, fear of the friggin' headline, fear of the political climate. The judge didn't see a 15-year-old boy. He saw across what? A super predator. Who's breaking this shit down like this? The media have been screaming about. And that's how this shit was made. See, the problem with this hearing, here's the part that should make everyone stop and say, what the? The transfer hearing relied on assumptions, not evidence, man. Shame on you. Well, Eddie was beyond rehabilitation, they were saying. That Eddie posed a future danger. Eddie's not Craig Price. Go look at Craig Price. Look at Craig Price. That Eddie's silence, right? That they were saying that it's guilt. That the juvenile system couldn't handle this guy that hasn't had a disciplinary ticket in over 10 years. But none of that was supported by anything. That's bullshit. My wife tells me you can't curse. You gotta stop cursing. I'm trying, but that motherfucker. But but stuff like that just drives you nuts. None of that shit's supported by anything. No school records, no behavioral history. None of that shit is supported by anything. In fact, the evaluations, said the opposite. It said that Eddie was not a danger, not violent, and not beyond help. But the judge still sent him to adult court. Why? You know why? Because the error demanded it. That's why, because the consequence of that decision. If Eddie stayed in juvenile court, here's why. He would have had access to rehabilitation. If Eddie stayed in juvenile court, he would have had a different trial structure. He would have had the protections designed for children, right? He would have been evaluated through the juvenile lens, and they didn't want that. He would have been released at 21 if found delinquent, and they didn't want that. They wanted to go on that super predator train. The game was over. He was tried as an adult. It was a wrap. Exactly. He would have had everything they didn't want him to have. He was going to be their poster child. He was going to make this guy governor. He was going to be sentenced as a damn adult. A 15-year-old boy thrown into a system built for grown men. Who's breaking this shit down like this? Who? I mean, yeah, you got them doing the audio T stuff, but who's giving you all of this other stuff? You know what I mean? The actual law shit, the court shit, the files. Who's breaking it down in a gritty way? How the hell did Eddie O'Brien end up with life without parole at 15 years old? Well, you know what? It probably starts in Heffernan's courtroom. You know, and of course, fear, everyone had to be afraid of shit because that had to outweigh everything. Where politics gonna outweigh people being friggin' crazy, where a kid's treated like, you know, a friggin' number instead of a human being. That shit wasn't justice. It was the super predator era in action. The super predator era in action. And that's why the Rule 30 fight matters, because if the foundation was broken, the verdict built on top of it can't even stand. Let me see something.
Grant, don't touch her.
Get away from me!
Yeah.
Please do not touch me. Ma'am, you cannot touch me like that. It is incredibly inappropriate.
Y'all see this shit?
How dare you?
We have witnesses that saw you hit her first.
Excuse me, she just bumped me.
Multiple witnesses. You hit her. I'm going to tell the police you hit her.
We
Grant.
have video of her just touching
Grant, I
property.
have video of you hitting her.
How did that change?
So I will be telling the police that when they arrive.
Oh, I will be telling them exactly what happened.
Let me show you home, son.
Oh, I was just assaulted.
No, you weren't.
That was completely inappropriate.
You
I am
touched her.
disabled.
You touched her. You hit a woman, Grant.
Excuse me, my back was turned.
Grant.
My back was turned, sir. It is on camera.
Yes, it is on camera. You're right about that.
I'm sorry.
You
My
shot-
back was turned and she touched me
You
inappropriately.
hit her.
I'm
You
dressed
hit
in
her.
a black suit.
You hit her. We saw you hit a woman, Grant.
My
We
back
just
was
saw
turned,
you hit a
sir.
woman. We just saw you hit a woman.
And this is going to cause a problem because she came here without having left a line sitter. Why did you have a line sitter here all night?
Grant, we saw you hit a woman. Any comment on
Sorry.
that?
Yes.
Is that rope holding your pants up?
White male, curly hair, glasses. Yep. Thank you. Okay. I'm actually super sorry. I was fine until he touched me, and I can't. Hi, I need an officer.
He touched her.
Hold on.
He
A
pushed
woman
her.
just came here.
Oh my God. He must have been snorting that Addy. That was like, yo, what the hell? Let me see.
She just touched my property, Paul. She didn't have a line sitter here until 11 p.m. 6:45. Get your body away from me! Drop that chair here. These people are going to eject you from this line for having not sent a line sitter. Don't touch me. You
Don't
just
touch-
touch.
don't-
Don't touch
Grant,
me. Please
Grant,
do not
don't touch
touch
her.
me. That's assault.
Grant, don't touch her.
Rapist.
Get away from me!
Please do not touch me. Ma'am, you cannot touch me like that. It is incredibly inappropriate. How dare you?
We have witnesses that saw you hit her first.
Excuse me, she just bumped me.
Multiple witnesses. You hit her. I'm going to tell the police you hit her.
We
Grant.
have video of her just touching
Grant, I
property.
have video of you hitting her.
How did that chair
So
get
I will
there?
be telling the police that when they arrive.
Oh, I will be telling them exactly what happened.
And there's a gentleman who just accosted me and put
Oh.
his hands on me, and I
I was just assaulted.
No, you weren't.
That was completely inappropriate. I am disabled.
You touched her. You hit a woman, Grant.
Excuse me, my back was turned.
Grant.
My back was turned, sir. It is on camera.
This is on camera. You're right about that.
I'm sorry.
My back was turned and she touched me inappropriately.
You hit her.
I'm
You
dressed
hit
in
her.
a black suit.
You hit her. We saw you hit a woman, Grant.
My
We
back
just
was
saw
turned,
you hit a
sir.
woman. We just saw you hit a woman.
And this is going to cause a problem because she came here without having left a line sitter. Why did you have a line sitter here all night?
Grant, we saw you hit a woman. Any comment on
Sorry.
that?
Yes.
He's got a rope belt on. He's
White
got
male,
a rope
white
belt.
male, curly hair, glasses. Yep. Thank you.
He's got a rope belt on. Very much.
Okay. I'm actually super sorry. I was fine until he touched me, and
I was fine until he touched me.
I need an officer.
He touched her.
Hold on.
He
A
pushed
woman
her.
just came here.
Is there anything else about it? I don't see Grant has anything about it on his page, but that was friggin' crazy. Here's the cop right here. He said, "Oh shit." Here's the cop there, but I wonder what happened with that. Yeah, she does have a restraining order. He is on the spectrum. He's disabled. They don't like him because he's covered Tim Bradle. Oh, it was all calculated to keep him out of the courtroom. Oh my God, man. What else is new with these people, man? What else is new, man? That's crazy.
Is saying. How about that? She's a disgusting, immature, crazy person.
Until 11 p.m. 6:45.
Get your body away from me!
Drop that chair here. These people are going to eject you from this line for having
Don't
not sent the
touch me.
lines in there.
Don't touch me.
You
Don't
just
touch-
touch-
Don't touch me.
Please
Grant,
do
don't
not
touch
touch
her.
me. That's assault.
Grant, don't touch her.
Rapist.
Get away from me.
Please do not touch me.
Restraining order extension should require a proven need because all you have to do is say you are still afraid of that person. And we say, ready, go.
11 p.m. 6:45.
Get your body away from me.
Drop that chair here. These people are going to eject you from this line for having
Don't
not sent the
touch me.
lines in there.
Don't touch me.
You
Don't
just
touch-
touched
don't-
touch
Grant,
me. Please
Grant,
do
don't
not
touch
touch
her.
me. That's assault.
Grant, don't touch her.
Rape. Get away from me. Please do not touch me. Ma'am, you cannot touch me like that. It is incredibly inappropriate.
All right, yo, I gotta go. I mean, it was really fun.
How dare you?
We have witnesses that saw you hit her first.
You know, but go check that shit out.
Multiple witnesses.
You know,
You hit her.
check you out.
I'm going to tell the police you hit her.
We
Grant.
have video of her just touching
Grant, I
property.
have video of you hitting her.
How did that
So
change?
I will be telling the police that one.
Free Eddie
Oh, I
O'Brien.
was telling them exactly what
You
happened.
know, that other good stuff.
Oh,
And then some.
I was just
You know,
assaulted.
appreciate you.
No, you weren't.
That was completely inappropriate. I am disabled.
You touched her. You hit a woman, Grant.
Excuse me, my back was turned.
Grant.
My back was turned, sir. It is on camera.
This is on camera. You're right about that.
Right.
My back was turned and she touched me
You
inappropriately.
hit her. You hit her.
black suit.
You hit her. We saw you hit a woman, Grant.
My
We
back
just
was
saw you
turned,
hit a
sir.
woman. We just saw you hit a woman.
And this is going to cause a problem because she came here without having left a line sitter. Why did you have a line sitter here all night?
Grant, we saw you hit a woman.
Free Eddie, sure, all day. We out.
Is that rope holding your pants up?
White
Yeah.
male, white male. Here.
Yeah. Them the clique they tried to bury. Yeah. I'm the storm. Yeah. I'm the storm they tried to bottle. The truth they tried to drown. 15 years old, they threw a king's weight on a child's crown. But I rise like a riot, like a siren in the night. And I'm calling out the dude who's been ducking the light. Name's Art Ortiz. Yeah, that fraud. Moving like a shadow puppet pulled by a coward god. Every time the block shake, he the first one to vanish. Moving like guilt, wearing sneakers, sprinting off in the panic. I'm like, why you always running when the truth get loud? Why your footsteps echo different from the rest of the crowd? You slither through the alleys like a rumor with legs. But when the questions start flying, you crack like eggs. I was sitting on the porch, whole hood saw me chilling. You was creeping through the dark like a plot. You was feeling you a ghost with a heartbeat, a whisper with shoes, a silhouette sprinting off, dropping half-baked clues. I spit metaphors heavy, you the fence jumper phantom, the backyard bandit, the night shift random. You the type to leave footprints, but swear you ain't walk. The type to hear your name whispered and pretend you ain't talk. I'm the kid they tried to bury, but I grew like a vine. Truth climbing every wall, exposing every design. You the dude in the shadows, ducking every spotlight beam, moving like a glitch in the neighborhood dream. This ain't an accusation, this a lyrical red. A metaphor for every grown man who let a child bleed. For every dude who stayed silent while a kid took the fall. For every shadow in the night who ain't stand up at ball. So fictional art, so listen, I'm the storm you can't dodge. I'm the truth in the alley, I'm the ghost in the lodge. I'm the voice of the timeline, the pulse of the street. And every lie you ever told get exposed to the beat. So keep running and hiding, but you can't escape. Truth so relentless, tide, your facade's gonna break. I'm the storm, I'm the light, I'm the echo, the fight. And when the beat drops down, you're gonna feel me tonight.